Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. However you happen to be watching and or listening to this, I want to welcome you to the latest episode of the Gaming Circle podcast. Now, of course, you see that I have my guest with me, but I do not have my co-host. But yes, of course, he showed up very last minute. So, all right, because he insists on making me do this as sloppily as possible, let me switch to the 3-cam shot. And hopefully it won't be as gross looking as I suspect it will be. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. And here we are. See, and now, of course, it's completely ruined. Thank you, EverbornSaga. I appreciate that, sir. Let me clean this up. Let me clean this up before we get started in earnest. But of course, you know, this is how we do it, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, you gotta just we gotta roll with the punches. Give me a moment. Let me get Everborn. Let me get this thing squared away because, you know, God forbid we do this professionally. What are we going to do? It is what it is. Professional, yes, exactly. But okay, let's start this properly. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate everybody for showing up. I already see some folks in the chat. But you know what? We will start by introducing the co-host first and foremost. Because, yes, he is here now. The man who's out there handing people shoes left and right as they see fit. Free shoes. And sometimes the man who's kind of obfuscating some responsibility, because before we even introduce him, I will put the first super chat of the day on screen and ask from Mr. Joanna Dark, a $5 super chat. Welcome, good morning, sir. He asked, happy Saturday, gentlemen. I hope Everborn has lotioned them knees. We are still waiting for them. Don't make us pull up a Brad Sams and hold up them numbers. Mr. EverbornSaga, how are you doing this morning, sir? Mm-hmm. Okay. And your mic is fluctuating a little bit. I think your mic is fluctuating a little bit. It might be going between loud and short. Yeah, that's what happens when you don't show up in the green room, you know. Much better. Absolutely better. Yes. All right, so folks, I hope you guys can hear us. I hope everybody's doing great on the in our. Ooh, I see, and there we go. They said Everborn was muted. So try again. Testing 1 2 1 2. Can Everborn be heard? Go ahead, Everborn.
Can everybody hear me? Hello.
I think yeah. Welcome to Movie Phone. Yes, I did see your levels fluctuating a bit, but you should be good now. But yes, thank you guys so much for having us. Chat, he's low. I'll turn him up. It's okay. I'll turn you up. He's low, but I'll turn you up.
That. Wait a minute.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
These are things that can be handled. How about now?
Absolutely. Yes, I can definitely hear you now.
What does the chat say though?
And the chat says very low mic, very low. Well, but of course the chat is just slightly delayed. But let us introduce our guest while we sort all these weird issues out. Man, I'm excited this week because we are going onward and upward with our guest list this time around. I love having this man on because we're talking games, and this guy is all about them games. He is the reviews editor. He is the podcast producer. He is a staff writer. Man, I called him the Swiss Army knife of the Xbox era. Mr. Jessie Norris is joining us. How are you doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Oh, it's great to have you here. We're talking games. There's so much going on in the gaming space. So it's good to have a person who's accredited to be reviewing said games and putting his name on there, putting the stamp of approval or, you know, righteous criticism. You know, I appreciate you being here. So no, this is absolutely great. Obviously, if you're watching our show, you know of the Xbox era because, you know, we are big fans on this show. We've had OBM One Bad Mother on. One day, hopefully soon, we will get Master Chief himself, Special Nick, on if we can ever work out the timelines and the time zones.
Say Steve Downs, but
well, you know, that would also be cool. That would also be very cool. But yes,
or we could get Pablo Schreiber.
Well. next best thing.
I mean,
you know.
he is your castmate, so you should be able to.
All right, moving
I'll
swiftly
put in a word.
along. Moving, because people seem to think I'm on that show, even though that's absolutely ridiculous. I think that's just kind of a little bit racist, because the gentleman who looks like me happens to come from the same place I do. So, y'all look the same kind of thing. Yeah,
bring his picture on the screen.
We're not bringing any pictures on any
No,
screens.
bring the picture on the screen.
No.
And let's see the doppelganger.
Sure. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Well, let us get to it, because we are here to talk about some games. And yes, I know that you reviewed Atomic Heart. I know that I'm playing Atomic Heart currently. I know that Everborn was playing Atomic Heart. Oh, hold on. It still says muted. Wilfrey, I'm sorry. I'm seeing Wilfrey in the chat saying they can't hear us. Wilfrey, please, folks, please let us know. I know you can hear me. Oh, he says we only hear Asante low. Folks in the chat, there are 38 folks in there right now. If you don't hear any of us, please, let me know, and I will adjust the volumes, trying to make sure that we work this out. I think we're good with Jesse, and I thought I brought up Everborn's levels as well. Hopefully, you guys can hear us now.
I was told that you muted me as persecution for my Sonic fandom.
Oh no. We want to hear all the capping. I would not mute you, sir. I would actually isolate your sound and make it loud so people can hear the receipts.
Yes, they say sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Exactly. We want to see you in your full ridiculous glory, sir. That's what's going on here. But okay. We're going to talk some games. We're going to talk about Atomic Heart, but I think I'll leave Atomic Heart to the end, since we're all talking about it and games and zeitgeist and controversies and all that. But before then, I will ask you, Mr. Jessie Norris, as you are, and of course I have some Atomic Heart footage on the screen. We'll get into that. As you are our guest, what other games have been keeping you busy this week, sir?
The main one has been Wolong, which I'm 20-ish hours into now. Can't talk about anything not in the demos, but thankfully they just put up another demo. So that game's beginning areas, the first 2 chapters, I think they call it, real good, real hard. It's a nice mix of kind of soulsy, but not as punishing for death. It definitely does feel more like they want you to learn from dying, which I think a lot of Souls-likes don't get right, in that they make it too punishing when you die, and you just end up wasting a lot of time. You don't feel like you're learning or progressing. But thankfully, this one's real good about it. It's later on, can't really say specifically, but Lu Bu, oh boy. Other than that, I've really been enjoying my time in those first 2 demo chapter areas, and we'll let you know next week how the rest of it turned out. But yep, it's a very strong start, at least.
Awesome.
And that's been the main thing, other than just doing some streaming on the side and playing. I played Doom 3 for the hell of it, and No Man's Sky came out with a new update.
Yes, I haven't tried it. I'm a big No Man's Sky fan. Especially
I jumped in. Yeah, I jumped in on PC Game Pass to do it in VR, and
awesome.
That was real fun.
Awesome.
So,
how
game
the
is still
graphics,
great.
by the way? I haven't checked out the overhaul. They say graphically it looks even better now, which is, I love the stylized look of the thing. Awesome.
You lose a lot when you go VR, because obviously it has to run, 90 FPS and 2 viewports at once. It's not that demanding a game, so it still looked pretty good. It was very fuzzy for me in the headset. I had to turn up because I have a Quest 2, and I was using virtual desktop to stream to it.
Yeah.
Once I turned that up, it looked a lot nicer, and it looked really good on the stream. So yeah, that game is a very smart implementation of VR.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't need a lot of room, because they don't expect you to move or walk. They expect you to use the controllers for everything.
No, very cool. Anything else you've been playing? Besides the review,
I'm near.
I guess.
I've been near the end of Hogwarts Legacy for a while. I streamed a heck of a lot of that one. Got very close to the end, and then Wild Hearts hit, which was tremendous, and I'd love to go back to, but there's no time. And then Atomic Heart hit, which we'll get into more later, and now Wolong. So it's just been bounce to bounce to bounce. I had 3 days, and now thankfully I had almost 2 weeks for Wolong.
The man is a beast with these games, man. Wow. Okay. And big ones too. Hogwarts Legacy has been It's been chewing up my days, and my nights. I sleep on average at 2:30, and for an old man, that's not a good look, man. Got to drink the chamomile tea this morning, keep the levels up. All right, Mr. EverbornSaga, I know you have a lot to talk about as far as games you've been playing, sir. How about you start from the top? What you been playing?
Actually,
Oh,
we'll get to what I started last night
okay.
and this morning, and then we'll get into the other stuff, the other 2 games that I just completed, just because that's a more in-depth conversation. So, I don't know if you saw this in the DM. I purchased Hogwarts Legacy last night.
I saw this, man. I saw this. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we continue, let us be clear in what is happening here. Mr. EverbornSaga, first and foremost, equated Hogwarts Legacy to what? A poor man's Tolkien. He said
equated.
Tolkien
Hold on a minute.
YA.
Hold on a minute. I equated the franchise, not the game.
Oh, sure. The franchise to a poor man's Tolkien. I get it.
And I stand by it.
Yeah,
Sure,
her
sure.
writing's not good and never has been. She hit it out the park, making a really great world. But I've never once thought that the actual writing behind the Harry Potter books or anything was any good. The movies got better when they moved away from her, and then she was really into the Fantastic Beast franchise, and that was
Which is terrible. Yeah.
first one okay, second and third one woof.
They should have kept Colin Farrell. I don't think the Johnny Depp villain did it anyway. That's
Well,
not
the
what we're
only
talking about.
the only piece that I want to make sure is clear is, let's be honest, he was a little intimidated by the size and scope of said game, so he wanted to disparage
I feel like
it
I
rather
should
than.
say pause, but so
It's
here's the
a
thing.
morning TV show, sir.
You're
Calm
not,
down.
You're
Go ahead.
not. You are not. You're not letting me get the story out.
Please,
because-
go ahead. Yes.
So I had just finished Callisto Protocol, and I played that on the back of completing Dead Space, and I played those back to back for the last week. I completed both of them, both great games, both very different games, but we'll talk about that in a second. So I've been trying to find what the next game will be, and as you know, I had been negging the Hogwarts Legacy game. And at first it was just because I don't like the franchise at all. And then I saw everyone playing it and sharing game clips and falling in love with it and calling it this year's Elden Ring. And I felt like the more I heard people say that, the more I dug my heels in. And then I realized subconsciously I just didn't want to take on a game of that scope again, because last year it took me 4 or 5 months to fully experience Elden Ring, and that was like a no-life game. It was the only game I played. So I said, if I play Hogwarts Legacy, I'm just not going to play any games maybe until the summertime, and I didn't want to do that. So I think that's what it really was. So last night I tried my best to say, let me find another game to play. So I, who had gotten Gotham Knights, I waited for it to go on a sale.
Good move, sir.
I tried that for like a half hour, and I was like, yeah, nope. It's not for me. I
And
didn't
by
like
the
it.
way, this is Mr. EverbornSaga, who always waits until patches are applied. So you're playing the quote-unquote best version of that game.
Yes,
Not
and
when
I
it first
do
came
need to
out.
apologize to you for something. So maybe
Okay.
here's some knees.
Okay.
Here's a half of a knee that you could have.
Well, let's pause down. Let's hear what he got to say. All right, what's going on?
Gotham Knights is absolutely a last gen game. In the way that it moves, in the way that you interact with it, in the UI, everything about it.
They
is last
just, like
gen.
I said,
Just
they
happens
just
to be
decided to
limited
cut the
this.
next gen, the last gen version out last minute. They built it for last gen. Yes, you can
Right.
see it.
So, so you win that one, sir. But I couldn't do it. It's not like after playing all of the games I had been playing recently. It's just like this doesn't even feel like an Arkham game, right? Just the way the characters moving around. I picked Robin. Maybe I should have picked a different. Sorry, not Robin. The original Robin.
Nightwing.
Dick Grayson, Nightwing. Yes. So I tried that for like a half hour, and I was just like, this is this is not my jam. I don't want to talk bad about it because people like it, but it is not for me.
Well, if it requires you to end up unlocking quite a bit, it's actually one of the problems that the Avengers game had, where the characters play okay at the beginning. It's as you unlock their abilities that they get to be really fun, and that can take a long time for each person. So you can hop between the characters, and they end up all being pretty darn fun to play, but you've got to grind to get to the point where they are all really fun to play.
Well, I haven't even
Mr.
gotten...
Joanna Dark is in here.
Mr.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, Sonic is a poor man's Mario game. I'm sorry. There's a lot of Sonic slander on this show because EverbornSaga loves it so much. So yes, they're coming out for him because he refuses to give up them knees. But I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah,
continue.
I would say tell that to Chris Pratt's voice acting. But anyway, here's the thing.
Low bar.
So it's not even like I didn't even get super far in it, but I was doing like the detective work in the beginning and the traversal on the buildings. None of it felt smooth. None of it felt like.
One of the later things you get is the actual traversal mechanic for each one, and it takes a long time to get it, and then it's really good, but they make you wait too long because everyone gets like a right trigger flying around type thing. Like even Nightwing can literally fly forever through the entire levels, or Red
it was
Hood
surprising to me that was like an end state,
so locked behind everything.
End state traversal thing. You weren't able to get it from jump. That was so strange. Like I feel like they put the good behind, like at the end of the game rather than in the front of it.
Even the parkour of it just it doesn't feel like the characters interact with the environment the way
kind of floaty.
I feel like that. I don't know if floaty's the right word. Anyway, the point is, I don't want to, because I didn't get too far in it, so it's not really fair. I'm just saying it didn't leave us, the starting impression just wasn't good for me. Like, I just didn't have a good starting experience. So I said, all right, I don't feel like I'm going to enjoy this. And I could be wrong, could be too soon. So I said, fine, because I need something to play. I am going to take the plunge just so people can stop accusing me of bashing the game for no reason. So I tried it.
How many minutes? Hour?
Maybe an hour in. Okay. I just got to Hogwarts, and I picked. I'm in the Gryffindor school or camp or whatever.
There you go. Yes, you with me. Let's go. All right.
So yeah, because you chose like adventurous, right, and daring.
Well, I literally just like answered the questions on the website, and it gave me Gryffindor. I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So that's where I am now. The intro, because this is how I decide when you have like a million games to play. You have to catch me in the first hour, and if you do catch me in the first hour, you have me for the next 50 hours.
Yep.
But you have to catch me in the first hour.
Tell me that intro didn't catch you in that first hour.
It did. It did. So I started playing it. I liked what's going on. I got into the combat, and I'm starting to understand it, but I still feel like I need some melee in my life, right? So this morning, right, after I had chosen which clan or whatever you call it for Hogwarts.
House.
Gryffindor. House.
Yeah, which house?
Gryffindor, right? I said, you know what? You know what else I bought that I waited for a sale for?
What's this?
Horizon Forbidden West.
He's finally playing Horizon Forbidden West.
You know what Horizon Forbidden West has, baby?
What's that?
Melee.
Well, yeah, okay. It's not the best, but okay, continue.
I'm still at the very beginning, right? But I feel like that might be the one to keep me away from Hogwarts, so I don't have to get into that.
Seriously? I put 300 hours into Forbidden West.
There's zero chance I'm going to put 300 hours.
Well, I
will
did
not
that.
do a single side quest in that game. If I
to be
play
clear, I did that because my daughter and I love running around, like finding huge monsters to take down. So we're just like endlessly running through the world.
That's what Sonic is for, sir.
Oh, stop it! Like, I put a lot of hours into that game, and I will tell you, Hogwarts is better. It just is. Hogwarts is better in every way. Hogwarts is better.
But you can't punch anybody in the face in Hogwarts.
Yes, you can.
You can just kill them, like you just shoot a green light at them and they die.
Yeah, and you can scratch them like with magic. There's a lot of
You
cool
can
stuff.
turn them into an exploding barrel and then kill them by blowing them up and killing their friend with them.
Interesting.
There's so much stuff in that game.
But
You murder millions of people in Hogwarts.
Yeah.
I'm still shocked by you just straight up murk nonstop humans
And it's like you're a
goblins
kid, and everybody's all like appreciative of that. Oh, good job.
it is the
Like,
1890s. I guess times were a bit different back then.
Okay.
so, you got to get some blood on your hands sometimes. But before I make a decision for which game I'm going to play, so right now we have 3 choices. Those are Gotham Knights, which is basically not going to happen, Hogwarts, or Horizon. I still need to try Wolong, which is coming out in a couple of days.
Yeah.
So once I try that, and Wild Hearts, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, is more of a service type of game.
No,
It's like
Wild Hearts is a Monster Hunter. It's all there. It's not like a battle pass game like people keep calling Suicide Squad. It's a massive, fully complete thing. I would imagine.
But like, is it like a story and like a full campaign kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'll
There's
try
a
it.
beginning, a
It's
middle, and an
very
end.
long one too.
Yeah. So I'm not fully decided, but both Hogwarts and Horizon Forbidden West have left good starting impressions, but the
Good
decision
stuff.
is not made yet.
Okay. No, this
All
is
right.
good.
So now, do we have a whole segment for my Dead Space Callisto Protocol?
I want you to
or
get
do
into
wanna
it.
Move on and come back.
No, I want you to get
Okay.
into it. Yes.
All right.
Get into
So
it, yes.
this week, between this week and last week,
And by the way, real quick, if I'm not mistaken, Jesse, you reviewed both Callisto and Dead Space, right?
I did. I was very surprised when I heard him positive about Callisto because I gave it a 5.9. I thought it was terrible.
But you played
I
it
think it's
also right at the
absolute-
beginning, right? When it first
Yeah,
started.
it was gorgeous. It looks great. It's just I don't think the actual gameplay or story are any good. Unlike
Okay.
Dead Space, which I gave a 10 because I think they're both. It's just incredible. It's one of my favorite things I've played in a very long time.
Love the opinions. All right, Everborn, let's go. What you think?
Okay, so, and by the way, I have not forgotten about Like a Dragon Ancient. I'm also going to try that one as well and see. And the reason I didn't move to it first, because I understand it's not really a new game. It's something that they're bringing back.
It's a
like
remake of a PlayStation only
3
or
game,
Japan only game from 2014, I believe. It was only in Japan, never came over here.
Interesting.
Yeah, the way they mix guns with swords kind of turned me off. But I am gonna try it because it's Sega, right? And we have to.
And they remade it in Unreal Engine 4. It looks nice. Looks real
Yeah,
nice.
I played the demo last week. Yeah, it's interesting. I played the combat demo. Yeah, it's good.
I'll try that along with Wolong and see where I land.
They're
So anyway,
very different.
right, but different is great. It is just are they gonna grab me? Because I am looking for something that I can please. So I bought them both on the same day, Callisto and Dead Space, because people had been making a lot of comparisons, and I decided in a coin toss that I would play Dead Space first, right? Just so that, because I had never played a Dead Space game, and a lot of I knew that people were making the comparison, so I wanted to know what the references were in Callisto before I played it. So I played Dead Space, and I will say it's a great game, and I love the world building and the lore. But there's not a lot that actually happens, I would say, in terms of the story itself. It feels like all the good stuff happened before you got there. And so
and you don't have any kind of connection to the past version, right? You've never played the first one. This is your first time.
no,
playing.
I know nothing about the first one.
Okay,
But
continue.
I was, because the Twitter community can be great sometimes. When they're not crying. But they actually did an animated movie. It was like 1 hour long.
Yeah.
Called Dead Space. It's not Aftermath. There was another one because they did another one in the lead up to Dead Space 2. But there's a Dead Space Dead Space Downfall, right?
Okay.
And it actually shows the downfall of the Ishimura. And because when I'm playing the game, I was like, that's the game. That's what I want, right? I want to see things gradually fall apart and people finding out about it and it being too late. And I think they did that animated movie like expertly. And the game itself. So it is absolutely survival horror, and I think that's the difference with Callisto. Callisto was more of an action game with horror elements than, but Dead Space was a legit like horror survival horror experience.
So are you speaking like RE7 to RE8 kind of action horror versus?
No, because there's way more horror in RE8 than there is in Callisto. Like way
understood.
more.
Okay.
Callisto is jump scare central. Their entire being horror is just nonstop jump scares for the most part. There's nothing really psychological or eerie. You never really see anyone or anything. You only see enemies for the most part in Callisto.
Right.
So they just end up jumping at you all the time to try and
you're also like very capable. Whereas, so this was the good story mechanic in Dead Space where you're not a fighter, right? You're an engineer who's using a plasma cutter and some other things that you find to turn into weapons. Whereas your character in Callisto is like I don't know if he was ex-military or whatever he was,
seems
but like
it. Yeah.
you're not afraid of the enemies at all. By the way, I'm a lot higher than you are on Callisto. I'm going to come to the positives about it, but I'm just trying to talk about the comparisons right now. So my issue, I think, with Dead Space was, again, I felt like all the story happened before I got there, and that was one of the things that I did not particularly like about Halo Infinite, whereas like all this stuff is happening in the audio files, and I was fine with it when I thought they were actually going to explore that in upcoming chapters, but it seems like none of that's going to happen. So all the good
show
stuff,
don't tell stuff,
I hate it
right?
when they do that. All the good stuff happens before you get there. So anyway,
They did it. They put it into this. This is actually a very good book.
Okay.
Right.
It would have been
And
a fun expansion or something, but that'll never happen.
Exactly. So, or if they can find a way to turn it around and weave that stuff into the TV show, who knows? But anyway, so all that being said, I was not a particular the weapons are way better in Dead Space, but I just wasn't. I wasn't a particular fan of the aiming and the shooting itself, and that became really clear in the final boss. Like, I play every game on normal. I don't play them on hard. I don't play them on easy. But that game, the final boss was so annoying trying to shoot it, I switched it to easy for that last boss.
He cheesed it, bro. He cheesed it.
And then I switched it back right before the cutscene.
So you get the achievement.
Yes. So I just like I may have died like 20 times just trying to do basic aiming, and I couldn't do it. So maybe I'm just old, but it like that doesn't happen to me in any other game. Oh, I knew Slow-Mo was gonna show up.
How about the Callisto Protocol's final boss was really bad.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Okay. So Callisto Protocol. Now,
You're getting shamed in the chat, man. Shame.
It's fine.
We just need like one of those bells now.
I'm just here to tell the truth.
He submits to the court.
Now,
it's fine.
So now, Callisto, they do borrow heavily, and they kind of expect you to know what happened in Dead Space, in the world and the lore. And so they're not saying this is in the Dead Space universe, but they're like,
it's supposed to be in the PUBG universe, which
I
is
saw
really
that.
weird.
That's so strange.
I think they shot.
Yeah.
It's made by Krafton, the PUBG people. They published it, and
it's in the
originally
same
it was going to be a big open world or a big battle royale game before it got changed.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you didn't hear that? That was a
I
big
didn't
news
hear
story
any of that.
before the game came out. Like they were thinking, are we going to see some crossovers? It was a big PUBG thing, and then I think towards the very end of the marketing cycle, they started pushing away from it. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, I do have horrible aiming, Big Poppy Mofongo. I'm terrible at it. This is why I play against bots in Halo Infinite and not
Bot
people.
master, baby. It is what it is. Go ahead.
Hey, I'm not ashamed of it. I own it. Callisto Protocol, because I went into it like just kind of accepting it as an action game, and the combat does get repetitive in places, but I really do see what they were going for. And I have a question for everyone, right? To all my Gears fans out there, right? Do you feel like, and I talked to Slow-Mo about this in the chat, so I know how he thinks, but in the DM, what if the next iteration of Gears, in a way for them to kind of evolve it, what if you still keep your same cover-based shooting and all that's like super detailed and all the stuff that Gears people like, but for close quarters combat, instead of just having a single like chainsaw kill or whatever the canned animation kills are, what if you had like a close quarters combat system like Callisto, but instead of dodging with the left stick, just holding it, you have it work like a parry button. So you have to press the dodge button right as they're attacking, so it gives you more agency.
Gears of Wolong.
Is that how Wolong works?
Yeah, Wolong B is your parry button. It's also your dodge. If you double tap it, whenever something's coming in, you have a pretty generous window. Press B and you deflect it, and that's like the main survival mechanic.
And he was far more generous. I was about to say Gears of Punch Out, but okay.
Ooh. No, but seriously, because I think
really quick, Pixel Bit G's in here. Welcome, good sir. He says Phil needs to step aside and let Gears be a horror game again.
I don't think Gears was ever a horror game. You always were too capable. Horror games are only scary because your character is generally so weak and dies so quick and doesn't have much ammo. That's never been Gears. You can be scarier.
Yeah,
but
yes, I would like for Gear, right. So I think that's an interesting comparison, right? Because Gears can lean more into the horror, but I also want them to lean into new ways of combat, and I think trying to find a way to add melee combat for when you're close to an enemy. Because it's always weird. Like, you always have to do that close-up kill, or you have to back up and pull the gun out. And I feel like these characters are big, burly people. Like, they should be able to fight.
The punches in Gears weren't too bad. It was always weapon-dependent. Obviously, if you had the chainsaw lancer, you would rev it up and slice someone. If you had, like, a pistol or most of the other things, you would just smack them. It wasn't deep, but it was something.
Right. So I like. So what I'm saying is, I think that melee system could be used for something else. I think it could be evolved. I don't think the holding the left stick and the right stick, I think that's what made it feel repetitive. I think if you had it be something where you had more agency by you actually have to time the dodge and things like that, I think it would not have felt as repetitive as it did, because it's like, okay, they're coming, hold left and then hold right and now do your attack. And there are blocking, they do block so you can do stuff like that. But I liked the bones of what they had, and I felt like it was fun enough as looking at it as like sort of a B horror sci-fi movie, because it was even shorter than Dead Space, and the production value I think was great. I loved all the performances. Sam Witwer got very campy by the end. I thought they were going to do more with his character than when they introduced him in the beginning. But I did find myself having fun most of the time. And even though the combat was repetitive, I felt like there was enough there that I never got bored with it. And that's probably because the game was only like 6 or 8 hours, right? Anything longer than that, and I would have started like rolling my eyes. But I feel like it was one of those things where it's like, you watch a movie and you kind of appreciate it because it's a quick 90 minutes in and out. They're not trying to do this 2 hours and 40 minutes thing, right? So for me, this felt like a good Friday Netflix horror movie where it's not great, but it's good enough for what it is. Now, that being said, it was a $70 game, so I do understand people judging it. And then everybody that played it at launch apparently is way worse than the experience I got.
Oh yeah.
So
technically, it was pretty much broken. I mean, I'll let you speak to that, Jesse. But like, I
It was
heard some horror
missing the
stories.
ray tracing stuff, but I wasn't ever going to play on that anyways because I'm always a frame rate first type of person. I'm playing Wolong in their 120 hertz mode, and I can't go back to even 60. I like frame rate.
yeah, and so Slow-Mo's saying that like what he told me before, which was you would need to change the map design, which is it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? For Gears to evolve the map design to work to incorporate melee combat and things like that.
Instead of the
and
open
another
spaces
thing
they
I've
have
always
currently.
said, right? And if you play Hive Busters, which by the way, the achievements on Hive Busters are broken. I beat that game twice, and the achievements never popped.
Interesting.
Like if you go and look at all the chapters, they all say completed, right? But the achievement itself is not there. It's weird. Anyway, the other thing is, so it seems like, as I understand it, there's a DLC coming for Callisto Protocol, and I'll definitely be in there. I'm saying all this to say, I see a lot of room for improvement in it, but I don't, and again, this is me speaking after all the bugs were fixed. I don't think it should have. It was a fine game. I don't think it should have got all the hate that it got, right? But again, if you paid $70 and it was broken at launch and it was only a 6 or 8 hour campaign,
this is what I'm saying.
I see it.
Yeah.
But for me, I did pay the full price for it, but I was happy that it was a shorter experience.
Yeah.
And you know, I like it felt like I was playing a movie, more so than a lot of PlayStation games, because there's still a lot of gameplay in the PlayStation games. This was a lot more heavily geared towards this stuff is happening and it's like an interactive movie. So I liked it. If I had to rate it, I'd give it like a 7.8 or an 8 out of 10, just because get in, get out, production values were great, and I didn't hate the combat system. I just think there's definitely ways it could be evolved. So
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
and I do see how people, because like even a lot of the controls, like downing an enemy and then stomping on them for loot drops, and then the grip is the same thing as the gravity hand.
But the
in
grip
Dead
is
Space.
so weak until you spend hours upgrading it. That was driving me crazy. You just drop people
Yeah,
right
I mean
away.
the grip wasn't as good as the
And
grip
the
in
incredibly long
Dead Space.
kneel down, put the needle, heal animation drove me
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, that I didn't mind that. If you think you're gonna do that in any combat scenario, you're kidding yourself. So for me, it was always like kill everybody in front of me, do that, and then move on to the next set. And one thing I did appreciate, right? Like when you kind of survey the room, there's actually a way to go through it stealthily, or just, you know, guns blazing, right?
Once you upgrade your grip and they start putting all those spikes on the wall, you can just
Yeah.
pick someone up and throw them directly in front of someone else, and they won't even notice. So it makes the game really easy.
Well, so I never upgraded the grip. I was all in on the pistol and the shotgun, because those were the best two guns in the game. People keep saying the assault rifle. I thought the assault rifle was terrible. But I would sneak up behind them and then do the stealth kill for some rooms and see if I could get all of them in the room like that. And other times, right, I would only use the grip if it was like somebody was right next to me and there was like 3 of them, so let me grab one of them, throw them on the wall, and now I can fight these 2. I don't know, the combat gelled with me. Again, it wasn't like amazing combat, it wasn't great combat, but it was good. And I see how people would say, well, it kind of locks you into these force QTE moments, but it's not really that, right? They do lock you into an enemy and somebody could be attacking, but I feel like they're good enough about using the environment, moving around that enemy and knocking them down so you can turn around. They do a lot for you, but I didn't hate it, man. I wish it would get a sequel, but then you hear they spent $160 million on that, and you're like, where did that money go? Because listen, if
you
you
did a
saw
lot of
you
marketing,
saw
too.
Sam Whitworth's face, like that's where they went. It went
saw
on. It went
but
on
I
all on the
also-
screen, man.
To me, that game should have had nothing more than a Plague's Tale budget. right?
Okay.
It's
Because
so
the Plague
it's
Tale did a
very
lot with a
short.
little. Absolutely.
Right.
By comparison.
Right.
Anyway.
So, and it's a small team. I feel like they took Crafton's money. It was just like, so I don't know. I
Okay.
don't see $160 million right
They
now.
wanted to do a really big AAA game in a very short period of time, which meant you have to hire just tons of outside stuff, and then it also got an enormous marketing push, which is where a lot of that money can end up going.
So Everborn, one question to
But
close
now that's
this out.
gonna mean they won't get a sequel.
This
Probably
is the question I was going to ask you. One question to close this out. You've now played the remake of Dead Space, right? Some people give it glowing reviews. You were kind of wishy-washy. You can see where it comes from as far as a remake is concerned. And you've also played Callisto Protocol. Which one do you think will or deserves to get a sequel?
Dead Space, because it sold more money and cost less to make. But if you're asking
You specifically.
it's hard to say, right? Because I appreciate both of them for what they were, right? Wait, hold on. Slow-mo says Asobo has their
Has their own proprietary
Didn't they use
engine.
Unreal?
No,
they
I
use
think that's a
Unreal
proprietary engine. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sobo is their own. That's one of their big things, is just how technically competent they are.
Yep.
Okay, I get
I
it.
mean, these
So-
are the makers of Flight Sim. What you gonna say? You know.
I hear you. So this is the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really want to see where Callisto goes next, and I'd like to see them with a realistic budget and to flesh
Like,
out that
pare it
combat
back, you mean?
system. What?
Pare back the budget, you mean?
Or take longer to do it. I don't know.
Okay,
Like
okay,
something. Just like flesh out that combat system, because the bones I feel like are great.
good. Okay.
I love the way, and again, I think part of it is a lot of people were expecting Dead Space, and it's not. It is that, and they want you to lean on that, but it's also not that. And I want more of that melee system, just like something involved where it's less easy to do.
It's very automated, the melee
Yeah.
in that game. It's like everything
need-
it's hit, dodge, hit. Like it's very regimented in what you can do, and it gets kind of
Right. I guess what I loved about it was the animations of it, because the animations of the hits were great. So give me more agency with that, and maybe you can't. Maybe that's harder to do when you have all those variables of giving me the agency that I want.
The game is in love with its animations, because it was like the best part of it outside of the character models. It was very animation first focused, as where something like Dead Space will just cancel an animation. I think most good playing games will let you cancel a really lovingly crafted animation in favor of making the game feel
They're like, you
better
know how
to
much
play.
money we spent on this animation? You gonna watch it?
You're gonna watch it every time and appreciate it, sir. That's what they're doing.
So,
okay, gentlemen, let us move on, because we're already 45 minutes in and we haven't even.
Long
gotten
story
into the
short, I
news.
love them both for different reasons. I would love to see that melee system evolved, maybe in a Gears game, because I feel like Coalition has the chops to do it.
Yep.
Or if they can con Crafton out of some more money and make a sequel.
If
gotta
you
stop with the
want,
con.
and if you want to see the story more, that's what Dead Space 2 and 3 really do well.
Okay.
Is you're a part of everything as it's happening. Dead Space is a great horror action game. Dead Space 2 is a great action horror game, and Dead Space 3 for me was a great co-op action horror game. It's not that good solo. And they've already sent out a questionnaire saying, "Would you like a Dead Space 2 and 3 remake?" And it's like everyone's like, "Yes,
Damn right.
yes, we would,"
Well, all right.
because that's one of the best trilogies ever made for me.
Cool.
One of my tops.
People tell me the third one fell off. I don't know, because I
The
it
third
got
one was
very
built
action
entirely around. It's built around co-op, and it was EA at the height of their microtransaction powers. It was like the online pass was that might have been one of the first ones with it. It was scummy EA, and thankfully EA is very much not scummy right now. So
Yeah.
much better time to
people
make
don't
it.
give EA enough credit right
It's
now.
a
they're
cyclical
doing
film.
very
They're
good
doing great
things.
things now. Yeah, absolutely. Except for the
Microsoft
knockout.
should've moved on them instead of
Stop it!
Activision, and
Stop
we
it!
wouldn't have all this
He's
trouble,
always
but
talking about who
whatever.
Microsoft should have moved on. Last week it was Ubisoft. All right,
EA is too successful. They don't. You
don't
need
need
to
them.
want
Yeah.
to be bought. Yeah.
See, this is what Everborn says. They need to be on their knees. EA's not on their knees. Maybe one or two bad games might get you there. Who knows? But okay, let us move forward, because before we get into the news proper, now I want to touch as many of these things as we can. We don't have too much time. Want to be respectful of Jesse's time. I want to talk about the game on the screen, Atomic Heart. Right? I want to talk about just the reviews. Jesse, you reviewed it for Xbox Era. I played it. I've been folks who know who've been listening to me and watching the show know that it's been on my radar for a while now. Everborn, if I'm not mistaken, you started playing a bit of it. But let's just
we'll get out of it, and that is what led me to try to find another game. But go ahead.
There he goes. We'll start with the reviews. We'll start with our takes on it, and then we'll move on and touch a bit on some of the controversies that has happened with surrounding it as much as we can. First and foremost, Jesse, I know you reviewed it for Xbox Era. You gave it a 8.4 out of 10, right? Please, without getting too far detailed into your review, I will make sure I put the review in the show notes. And actually, you know what? While we're talking, and I've shown a bunch of footage about it, so let me actually move on to some reviews information, and we can look at some of the article that you wrote generally about it. And you can tell us about.
Most people don't look at the article; they just scroll right down to the bottom.
Yeah, I know. Tis the world we live in. They're all video.
And we do have a dark mode on the site if you ever want to use it. It's up on the
awesome,
very top.
Awesome. Yes. Right.
The moon
there.
is, I think.
Right there. Look at that. So yeah, give us your, because yours was one of the first reviews I saw. And since then, I've seen a lot of reviews, ACG's reviews, a few Skill Up's reviews, a few other reviews that have been out there. So I guess, we don't have to regurgitate your review itself, but since you've come out, and I'm sure you've probably seen the information that's floating out there, has your views changed any? Like,
nope.
Is there any, so you're still right on the money, 8.4, huh?
I knew from how difficult it can be to how broken it is in some at times that it was probably going to be low 70s is what I said on our Discord. Like, I really enjoy this, and I was able to get around a couple of bugs that could have been game breaking that I hit. I can see other people being very annoyed. I can see other people thinking it's too hard. We've all watched more and more reviewers as they stream games, and you're like, huh. At least I think I'm okay at them. So I know I was able to get through it. I'm able to get through Wolong. Wolong's another one I'm not sure that everyone's going to be able to get through. It can get real tough at times. But I think it's really good. It looks incredible. It's like the pinnacle of Unreal Engine 4. Like it's as far as they could push it. Even like the reflections and everything. There's no ray tracing, but yet the reflections in the beginning and stuff look incredible.
Speaking real quick about the ray tracing stuff. Like, I thought it was super interesting that there is no ray tracing since NVIDIA was literally using this as their showcase for years, like years and years and years, and now it's like quiet silence. It seems like it was stripped out. I saw a what do you call it? The Digital Foundry did a breakdown of it, and they also had questions about it. Like, it seems that because they may have stripped that out at some point, what they replaced it with kind of was a poor man's rendition. It kind of did it no service a bit. So sometimes all you see are gray textures everywhere rather than, staircases or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's odd. It's probably just one of those things where, like every other game, this game came in real hot. Like, eventually you got to ship it out and you fix it up later. And like, there are definitely sections that are super polished with the reflections. There are areas that are not. Like, and I also know that the performance has gotten worse on Xbox after the first couple patches.
It's very weird. Like,
I did not have any issues before launch. I didn't have dips. I didn't have the videos not playing in the
It's kind of funny you bring that up
stuff.
Because like and Everborn has spoken to this on a few occasions. Folks tend to play the games on PlayStation than on Xbox if they have the choice, right? That's the nature of Metacritic.
Pretty much every time you can always ask what system you want the game on.
So like anytime it's a multi-plat, you tend to see more reviews on PlayStation than you do on Xbox. In this instance, for some odd reason, it worked against PlayStation because it's more solid on PlayStation, but has a lower score on PlayStation. and it's
Yeah,
far more
it's-
buggy on Xbox and has a higher score. It was just kind of probably because there are less people reviewing it on Xbox, so maybe the pool is smaller, so it's maybe that's what's causing that. But I'm sorry, continue. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, before launch, I had bugs where like room textures didn't load, and so if you walked into them, you just fall forever. And a hard reset fixed it. But
Yeah, I think I saw that
as
in your
far
review.
as
Yeah.
actual performance, it was fine. It actually it ran really well. So it seems more like since launch, the couple of they've had 2 patches, I believe, that it's gotten worse, which is weird.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I will say, I've been playing it on. I played it on the PC and I played it on the deck, and 60 frames both places, even on the Steam Deck, which is kind of unusual for a game that looks like it would be such a monster title, right?
Yeah.
It plays like butter on the deck, but yes.
Yeah,
So-
it is a really good PC version because I actually started it on Steam. When I was on with Boom, the code showed up for Steam. I played that for 2 hours, and then the code showed up for Xbox, and us being an Xbox-focused site, swapped over to that, and yeah, it ran really well, looked incredible, and I ended up enjoying it quite a bit. The open world it's there, and I think some people are going to go explore it and be like, wow, this is terrible. And for me, I was like, well, I don't have that much time. So I've got the weekend. I'm just going to focus on
the
the
story.
main quest. And I do think that ends up being the best way because the open world is pretty much this really big area that doesn't have much when you're in it. And the only thing that's really of value are the polygons, which are their challenge dungeons, where you get, and they can be quite hard, but it's where you unlock a lot of your attachments for your melee weapons and your guns. So they're worth doing, and you got to do them when you're in an area, because you generally can't go back to an area once you're done. It's very Metro Exodus in that way. So, but if you focus on the main story, do the polygons, you might need a guide to even find out how to get to them. Some of them can be pretty tricky to find. I thought it was fantastic. Not too long. It was about 14 to 15 hours for me total. And yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I do hope they fix the VSync issues, because I did have
Here's a
you
question
can't turn VSync
for-
on for some reason. I'm sorry, Everborn. Go ahead.
For everyone and I'm sure we will talk about the dialogue.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into all the dialogue stuff, the controversy, and by the way, turn your mic up just a smidge, sir.
How about now?
Absolutely.
better?
There you go. Yes. Go
No,
for it.
I was just away from the mic. I gotta
Okay.
forget that this new mic, you gotta talk like
You got to talk into
you
it.
gotta, like,
Yes, sir.
put it in your nose.
That's right.
But what I was saying was I almost feel like the game suffers a little bit from trying to do too much, right? There is, in a way, there's beauty in simplicity, and I'm not saying a game has to be easy and cookie cutter, but it's like heavily focus on a smaller set of abilities. I always find better than a less fully polished, larger set of abilities.
Oh, that
And
to
so-
me is righteous criticism. Honestly, it seems like, and we don't have the backstory there, but it seems like it was a team who wanted to make a game and was like, oh, we've always loved BioShock. Oh, we've always loved Wolfenstein. Oh man, Fallout is amazing. And they literally just like almost how you do it with a scrapbooking, they cut pieces of it and just kind of stitched them, and you can see them like on display. It's not even like, oh, inspiration. No, this is the Russian Fallout. You can see it in the cartoons they make. It's literally Fallout only in Russia, right? And the same can be said of the opening cinematic of BioShock, very much BioShock, splashed with a Wolfenstein. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of direct correlation to their influences you can pull, and maybe that makes it washy a little bit. It washed it out.
Right, and I'm not saying this like to rag on anybody. Like, you've played the Ariel's Adventure game, right?
Yes, I have. Yes, sir.
There's literally nearly every feature you could have in a 2D platformer there, and that was just all to see. Let's see what it
could do.
feels like. But the final version that you all will play in the chat, hopefully, a lot of those features and abilities won't be there, right? So I feel like you almost as important as a director is an editor, right?
It's as important what you add as much as what you take away.
Right. So it's not that a feature by itself isn't good, but when you add it to all these other features, do you have a cohesive experience, and is everything polished in the way that it needs to be?
One quick pause so I can announce that we have more than 105 folks in the chat already. I appreciate y'all being here. This is pretty amazing. Please hit that like button if you haven't done so. The YouTuber in me must say, please consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed already. This is awesome. I appreciate y'all for being here. If you have any questions, put the word question in the chat and ask your question. I'll make sure I find it and get to it. Everborn, please continue.
Yeah. So again, I am saying this as a independent game developer myself.
Yes, sir.
This is a struggle that I often have with. I have all these features and I personally love all of them, but if you are putting this thing out in the world, you're not putting it out for you to play, you're putting it out for hopefully a lot of people to play. So you have to pare some of those things back, and I feel like this game throws so much at you that maybe some of it should have been pared back. I don't know.
Can you give me like an example of some mechanic or feature that you thought could have been on the cutting room floor that would have been okay with you?
I don't know because like it's just like I'm going from and maybe it's the way they're explaining these things for how you have to do it. It's just I love the lock mechanisms, but then there's a different lock mechanism every time, and that's I get it. That's how it doesn't feel boring.
Yeah.
And then you are swimming through polymer, yes,
glube.
right. And then the way you need to upgrade the weapons, and then the shocking
machine.
of things,
vending
then
machine.
the dodging, which I don't feel like really works because there's no lock on. And no, you don't need lock on like Deathloop or whatever to play the game for you. I'm not saying that. But the way you dodge in this game, the robots lunge at you, and when you dodge, they're now out of your peripheral. And it's a first-person game, and the idea is if you're in combat with something, you need to see it. So if every time you get into an encounter, someone's jumping behind you, I always found myself kind of dodging out of the way and then having to turn around and getting hit while I turn around, and it just wasn't an experience. I almost felt like I was getting dizzy from all the head
Jesse,
turning and whatnot.
Jesse, do you think it's a problem between the controller and the seat here, or
I only play with an elite using all the paddles, so I'm never not aiming. So I never really think of that. Like if you have to constantly take your hand off the button to dodge, like take your hand off of the right analog stick, dodge, go back, then I can see it definitely being an issue.
So you can keep your thumb focused on the enemy while hitting the dodge with the thumb.
I can't play any game where you have camera control on the right analog stick. I can't not use the paddles because I always want to be aiming.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that goes for any shooter, any
Everborn,
melee game.
that might help you. That might help you. Possibly editing, you're putting the paddles to use might keep him on frame and help you more there.
Right.
I'm sure you have more than that. But continue,
right, and Reggie Lee in the chat says that they're going to add an
FOV slider. Awesome.
And that might help. That might help.
It is definitely needed. Yes, absolutely. But continue, sir.
So,
yes. Your experience.
Yeah, it's just they were throwing a lot at you in the building that you're in because I haven't made it outside yet.
Oh, okay.
And then you were like, it's 2 hours from where I am.
It's about an hour and a half, 2 hours before you hit outside. Yeah. Because
right.
the reason why is because there's a lot of backtracking. You got to go to this room and go get this thing, and there's something that happens there. Then you got to go to that room and get that thing, and something happens. Every room you go to get that thing in expects big encounters, big crazy, bombastic things happen, and then ultimately you bring it all back. You unlock the door, and then you go upstairs. Yeah.
Right, and then I don't know.
And then you're in like robot GTA, but that's neither here nor there.
Right, but I also don't know if I could. And I know that the dialogue is supposed to be what it is. It's a parody of whatever. But like, I don't know if I
very
can
Duke
listen
Nukem.
to it. Like, it's becoming hard to listen to.
The English dub is not good. I didn't use it. I was rushing with subtitles the whole time, and thankfully they have made the subtitles bigger.
Okay,
So,
that's good
easier to
because
read.
I was gonna say that. Like, I tried to go subbed instead of dubbed. Right, my
That's
anime
too tiny?
fans know. Yeah, my old man eyes couldn't see all of that text. So if they've increased the text size, I may try it with the Russian sub, with English subs. So,
I think the written translation for the Russian to English
is much better than the spoken.
The script of English. Yeah, way better.
The script seems like extra cheesy. Like it goes
You know what's
overboard
crazy,
with the cheese.
I feel like I could have, and it's only your main character that is like, because the old lady's performance is great.
Yeah.
Weird, she's British.
Granny Zelda.
Yeah. Whoever the actress is that did that, fantastic. I feel like if they gave the main character a Russian accent, the cheesy lines that he said would go over better. I don't know why, but I feel like it's true because you could understand it being that cheesy if English wasn't his first language.
Sure, but him speaking in that Americana highbrow kind of way. Well, not really.
It's
highbrow,
European Z movie dub
Yeah.
level of acting.
Right. So that's sort of the thing that is, and again, people say they're doing that on purpose, but like, I'm supposed to be listening to this for like 15 hours, and I don't know that I can.
Yeah.
So I'll try it. I'll try it with the subs if they've made those bigger. But like, I was literally like getting a headache trying to squinch.
It's still hard to read in the middle of combat because they never stop talking. But even then, like, it's so much better. The original Russian VO, and you can only change it at the main menu. If anyone's wondering why, like, you're in the game and you don't see it in the audio section, it loads up when you load up, so you got to go back to the main menu to change the language. But yeah, I played the whole thing in Russian, even with thankfully I'm pretty close to my monitor here, but it was much better. And the translation for the Russian English is just much better dialogue written in English than the actual dub is when you listen to it in English. I don't know why it's so different, but it's good.
And what about the idea that Granny Zelda looks like the Queen of England? There's a lot of that.
It's a typical older, whiter lady look.
Yeah. But people were specifically pointing. I'm like, and then I took a picture of the side by side. I'm like, okay, I guess I don't know. Maybe that one was a reach, but okay. So
last thing.
Go ahead. Yes.
So ultimately, why I decided to put it down was I did not feel like I was enjoying the combat.
Okay.
The English dub, as we've all agreed, is not great, and that's putting it lightly.
It's a feature.
So listening to
garbage.
that and not enjoying the combat.
Yeah.
And then feeling like the weapon upgrade system was a little bit too tedious because I never really know what I'm collecting. Right?
Okay.
I'm just like going in rooms and sucking up garbage.
But let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Telling you have enough stuff, but I don't really feel like I'm looking for anything to upgrade.
So
it's just
for
like
just a moment,
stuff.
I don't know how much of these kind of collectathon games you've ever played, but we will throw whatever criticism and all that you can at this game, and I will as well. But I have to say, the collecting mechanic is so satisfying.
What are you collecting though?
Well, you're collecting medals. You see them like on your screen as you do. But
once you get used to the icon, there's like 6 or 7 icons,
on
and
the
they've got
side of the
specific
screen.
things they're generally for.
Yeah. For bullets, for creating components for your weapons. Sometimes you from the robots you get a bunch of health, right?
Yeah, and each robot will give you specific things, so it's like an incentive to go after.
Actually,
these ones are going to give the upgrade.
If you look at them, kind of like how you started Forbidden West. If you look at the and you do the L thing, right? You look at the screen while you aim it at the bad guy. It'll tell you what he drops. It'll tell you what he's weak against, right? To your point, Everborn, they throw a lot at you, so you miss many things. If you choose to play it strategically, you can actually go, okay, well, I need this stuff, and like hone in on an enemy that has it, and it'll tell you, all right, well, if you defeat him, you'll get this, and this, and that's what it drops, right? Even in those sections where you're upgrading your stuff, if you don't know what you have, it will literally point you to a map or an animal type or an enemy type that has those things, so you can be on the lookout for it. There's a lot of systems at play, but to your point, it's a lot, and they don't do a very good job of explaining it well,
Yeah, but that being said, it is one of the most beautiful when all the textures are loaded. It's just one of the most beautiful things I've seen in a very long time.
And they made it in 5 years, which is crazy.
Yep.
especially when you look at Microsoft's.
I gotta say, I want more people to steal that Magneto walk into a room and all your medals are mine thing. That's awesome. It's just so good. I just want to go
Red
around.
Dead 2 into Atomic Heart for looting.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you know, The Last of Us, where you have to like creep and open every cabinet, and I'm just like, I get it from a game and story perspective, but let me be empowered to walk into a room. And my favorite part about that is you're not just collecting what you need, you're just tossing crap all over the place. It's just all over the place. You know, you walk in and everything is just yours. It's just very satisfying. That doesn't get old.
Mini black hole backpack.
Yes, and the black hole backpack, which has huge items that you just go, whoop, and it's just gone, and it's gone, you know. So, no, I do, let's talk a bit about the criticism, Everborn. I've heard a lot of criticism, you know, as the game has come on, has been on people's radar and people started playing it. And I honestly can't disagree with any of it, right? Like, and maybe, and
it's all about how much weight you put on it, because that what I said doesn't have to ruin the whole experience of it.
Sure,
it's just these are my nitpicks, and it's
sure.
Like, I have a very specific kind of, not a specific kind of game I like to play, but there are certain things that
you expect, yeah,
that I expect. I expect nothing because I try to give everybody a fair shot. But there are certain things that I need to invest the kind of time into these things that it requires. Because we're all busy. We got kids. We got bills to pay and stuff like that. Comic books to write, games to put out.
There you go. There you go. I see. Oh, thank you so much. We have Enigmatic Dreams with the $5 super chat saying, love the podcast, you guys. Very unique takes on things, and the chemistry you have is unmatched. Keep going, you guys. Oh, that's
why,
so great.
thank you.
That's wonderful, man. You warmed the heart. We appreciate you, good sir. Thank you so much for being here. So, okay, on the topic of criticism, okay, and we'll tie that into some of the controversy and all that we've been hearing in there as well. One that I didn't catch wind of until this morning. And shout out to Flint Dog 8208. He's in the chat. I'm not sure if he's here yet, but he's on the Twitter streets. He's part of the community. He brought this to my attention, and yeah, it definitely deserves a conversation. So just off of the game criticism alone, yeah, I agree with you, everyone, that like a lot of the stitching together of the systems and not defining it uniquely on its own can become very derivative. Like you can just see where they're like, I can, because I've played most of the games they're pulling from, I can literally tell you, okay, here's where this starts, here's where this ends, and I'm sure, Jesse, you can do the same as well. You know, you can see the Wolfenstein beginnings. You can see the BioShock Infinite. You know, the glove and the elements are literally BioShock. Like that's whole cloth right there, right? You can see when you're testing out your weapons or you're checking it out, they literally took that cartoon animated style from Fallout and that Americana, you know, that Pip-Boy with the hand, you know, the whole thing. They took that and just made it Russian. Like they put an SSR tinge on it, which works for some, but can kind of turn others off because it's kind of like, you know, it's good that you pull from it, but you could have kind of made it your own a bit more rather than just pulling from it and making it so whole cloth that we can see where you're pulling it from. You know, so as a game itself, I do see some people's complaints there. Also, the that was a big problem. The melee, people feel like they can't connect with the enemies well enough, right? And to your point of the dashing and you don't see where you're going and things like that. You know, I do get all of that, but for me, just me personally, like the fact that this team, and I've said this, and maybe I'm in the bag for it, but you know, the fact that this team made this game and had no prior experience, and yes, they have teams from the members from other teams that have come in as well, so they have some level of experience. But as Monkfish, this is their first shot. It is super impressive. Like bugs and all, you know, weird, quirky choices and all. I think and clearly you see the money on the screen, right? Like when you get at that high level of budget, and I think they try to shoot for AAA, and I think they squarely hit AA. You know, I think they did that. But when you see like so much being invested, you don't see these experimental decisions being made. Like the companies behind them tend to shave off all the corners and make it tried and true. And, you know, it's very much milquetoast, right? this thing is weird in all of the best and worst ways, right? That vending machine belongs on no game has ever chosen to go that hard, with a vending machine, or anybody for that matter. I think that probably the reason why they're able to get away with it is because it's the vending machine. If it was a human saying those things, this game would have probably gotten like an AO or something.
Well, yeah, the whole reason for her is like she was an upgrade or proto 3D printer, and she was luring people in with the sultry voice and all the weird shit
Just to kill them.
then tear them apart.
Yeah. And the more you listen to her, the crazier it gets. It's like, I just need to stop and just listen. I sometimes hit restart. I want to hear it again. It's just so strange. And it's not necessarily the best thing, I have to say. It's not like, oh, wow, this is awesome. But it's just it's an artifact of gaming that has never been seen before. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's an area we don't get many games from, so we're not used to the humor and what's normal there. Like there's not that many Russian games.
Yep. Absolutely. So Everborn, like, I hear you on your criticisms, and I share many of those criticisms. But to me, honestly, it's like, it's just so interesting in both the good and bad ways. Kind of like how you and I have been dissecting various Sonic games of the past. Some of them are that I consider are terrible, but still have very interesting aspects to them. I feel like this
great.
Stop.
I played 1 hour of Sonic Frontiers when they gave me a code for streaming, and that was it. That's all I needed.
And this is why you are welcome on this show anytime
Sonic
you want.
Sonic Frontiers was one of my favorite games last year.
You see, so this tells you the person
I think we
you're
gave it
dealing
a 6.
with.
I didn't review it, but I think we gave it a 6, and that seemed about right to me.
Yeah.
Right. I need to know who reviewed that, and I'm gonna have to send them a strongly worded email.
He's a letter writer, ladies and gentlemen. But okay. To round off the Atomic Heart conversation, let's get a bit more into the controversy stuff, right? And let's start from the top. So, when this game came out, a lot of the same kind of issues and criticisms were levied against it that were kind of at that Hogwarts when Hogwarts first came out, right? People wanted to boycott. People wanted to take a stand because of where the source material or where it was coming from, and
where the funding, because there's some of the funding from Munfish.
Exactly, and where the funding is coming from. So the idea being, hey, you're helping continue the war effort, if you will, because some oligarchs are connected to the funding of this game, right? So I went into that understanding exactly what to expect, in that criticism realm. But so far, from what I have played of it, I feel like those, and please, there is no wrong answer here. We're just giving our opinions. I feel like those who criticize it from the first hour don't understand the Fallout nature of it, and I'm specifically picking Fallout because it is literally Fallout, but an SSR version. And if you've ever played Fallout, like to any extent, you see that, and even Wolfenstein actually also, it starts with this idealistic view and picture of look at us and how great we are and how amazing we are and how awesome we are and all this. And as the story progresses, you start seeing the veil get removed, and more the seedy underbelly is reviewed to you, and they're basically trying to tell you a story. They're trying to a cautionary tale, if you will. Now, Atomic Heart is not Shakespeare. So, and my first inkling when I saw this was, this is written, and the story is written and or made by Kojima's crazy Russian cousin. And I think I'm right on that even now, when you see the mermaid freaking cows and mermaid pigs and all this other stuff that they have going on in there. But still, I think those who spend time going, look at all the pro SSR stuff in here, are just kind of missing it. They're missing the full picture.
It is
what do you
extremely. It is a massive criticism of the USSR at that time. It is not pro USSR. It's like, oh, they're using the iconography. I was like, well, it's set in the 1950s version of the Soviet Union, where this polymer invention had helped them quickly win World War II and become part of the global superpowers. And as you get deeper into the story, there's nothing positive about the government in that game. It is not, and it's like, America is an imperial country. We go and we just kind of do what we want in other places, and that gets super political, and people get all messed up. But it's like,
you see, we're supposed to pretend like that doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen.
It drives me
just everywhere
crazy.
else.
And what drives me crazy too is the war in Ukraine sucks. It's awful. I hate that it's happening, but it's also happening in multiple other countries like Yemen and other places, but you don't hear about it, and it's probably because of the way the people look. And so this one feels so much more performative in the sense that
my man,
they
Jessie
look like
Norris.
me.
Oh yeah,
they look like me. So I'm gonna get super angry and make sure everyone knows how good a person I am, because I'm gonna go over the top, just get mad at something, and not actually look into the product. Which Atomic Heart is not pro-Russian in its story. It's set in Russia, made by a collection of developers from around the globe, but the main team are Russian. That doesn't mean it's evil or anything's bad. It's not like, if you're Russian, you are bad. It's like, if you're Putin, you're bad. If you support him, he sucks.
I
But
thought
it's like,
Putin was hands-on keyboard coding this game.
it's just
thought that was the
everything
thing that
becomes so
just like
cut
Rowling
and
was
dry.
hand-on keyboard coding Hogwarts.
It's like, you got a bunch of Mormons in Utah making this. You want to go with the Mormon church, fine. But I mean, it's not J.K. Rowling making in Hogwarts Legacy, which is a very inclusive game. And then you see places like Polygon and Kotaku saying, well, that
super
diversity is
interesting?
bad. I'm like, no,
Right?
it's not. It's good.
Isn't it
J.K.
like
Rowling's
super?
writing.
Isn't it super interesting that every time this criticism is levied at the product actually, if you pay attention, like, is the complete opposite of that? It's just so strange.
And it's very weird to me because the video game journalism industry, mostly based out of San Francisco, is really into pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And pro wrestling is owned by two billionaires, one who's truly terrible, has tons of Saudi funding. Nintendo has Saudi funding. All these different places you're giving. You cannot ethically consume media.
Anything.
You simply can't.
Yep.
You either don't do any of it, or you pick and choose your battles. Like, well, I really like wrestling, and I'm not going to blame the wrestlers. It's like, okay, well, I really like the setting in Harry Potter. I'm not going to blame the developers. Yes, J.K. Rowling's terrible, and she's going to make money from that, and this sucks. But when you're promoting and watching and buying WWE pay-per-views, Vince McMahon makes money, and he also really sucks. And the Saudis make money, and it sucks. And it's like, you can't. It just feels weird when, like, it's a completely different society in Russia too. So when you take your always online brain from your country and you apply those standards everywhere, it just doesn't work.
I call it the
you
keyboard
have to have
cowboy
nuance.
syndrome.
Shallow you have to understand, like, you're taking your standards and you're putting it onto another culture, which isn't right. It's just not the way the world works, and it's what ends up leading to it just doesn't feel legit. And you read reviews that end up being about everything except for the game. It happened with Hogwarts Legacy, where you had multiple reviews out there that spent 100, 200 words on the game, and then like 900 words on the author of the IP. And at that point, people just tune out. You don't actually educate anyone. That means
you've lost the thread
just turn
at
them
that point.
off.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like
absolutely.
we tried it in a way where we had an article stating this is why this is very controversial, why people are upset about it. These are all the shitty things she said and how it's influenced policy in the UK. And then we had a very short blurb in the actual review about that, and then the review was just about the game. And I think that's the best way you can try and educate someone, but in the end, they're just there to play a video game, so you need to just focus on the game too.
And
it
know,
feels like,
and by and large, art more often than not transcends the artist. These things live on, where they all the crazy art that you remember that iconically in your past has a very shady history if you pay attention to it. All of it in one shape or form. So it is quite interesting that people are very, very strategic in what they choose to clutch their pearls about. You know what I'm saying? I always find it.
There's a thing that came out about there's about a half a second of
we're going to talk about
cartoon.
that one. Yep, right here. Let me put that. Let me pull that up there. So and again, shout out to the community member who pointed this out to me. Like, I have left that underground, and I never even saw that cartoon because
it's there. You can see the cartoon. Yeah. There's 22 episodes of a real world 1950s Russian cartoon.
It's an actual game, an actual cartoon that exists. People, you can actually find it, and like they put it in the frame, and of course it shows off some stuff that people would not consider necessarily kosher by today's standards. I'm not.
Yeah, it's the same reason you don't see Looney Tunes on TV anymore. It doesn't hold up by today's standards.
So what I will say though,
funniest cartoons.
Yeah. So check this out. So let me put this on the screen. So this is the thing that's being talked about, the native African depiction in the show, which is not something that they drew for the show. They just added this thing to the show. Now, let me be clear. I am not condoning it. I'm not saying that it's water under the bridge. First and foremost, like, shout out to the community member who brought it to my attention. I didn't even see it, and I do think it's worth addressing. And if you saw this and it turns you off, you have every right to feel that way, 100%. Those who have watched this show or have heard me speak at any length know that I have a problem with most Square Enix games. And every time they come out and they shuck and jive to people that look like me, I'm out there saying, come on now. Shut up, Barrett. What are we doing here? Right? Even Forspoken is ridiculous in that realm. You know, I choose to call it out and point the finger at it and show folks that, hey, this is what I'm talking about, right? If you say, yo, this thing turned me off, I'm done with it because of this, I in no shape or form will hold that against you. Absolutely not. I also find it interesting, and this really crystallized it for me, what I was thinking about it. As soon as this whole thing came out, and I kind of did a search, and as you see, I pulled up the article from IGN. They were going through it, and they showed people's reviews of it, people's thoughts on it. And the first review was the first person remarking, saying, "Oh, this is Wolf, a Rabbit and the Wolf, one of my favorite childhood cartoons." She's a German Democrat Republican from that era, right? And he goes, "I don't know what's going on." And they literally had to show her the image of the thing in question to go, "Oh, okay, I get it now. I get it." It's so built in, so baked in the cake that by and large, most people don't even see it anymore, right? Like when I was a kid, movies were like Soul Man. Go look that one up. You know, Disney Plus is full of this exact stuff. Like to this day, now to their credit, you know, before they show it to you, they go, "Well, we have grown since then. We have matured since then."
Yeah, this isn't the best.
But they have this, like, I have seen the Hitler with Bugs Bunny. There's a lot of that stuff. So when I saw this, this adds to, like, to me, it's like, and parents know what I'm talking about here. You know, your son is crying because his sister's bothering you, but you know, before he started crying and you were eyeballing him, he smacked her in the face. Like, you just can't help but get criticism onto yourself and keep continuing to get all this divisive conversation, even though some of it may not necessarily be deserved. But you're not helping yourself when these things are popping up left and right, because that's their culture. This is not a problem for them. You know, they didn't see this as, oh my God. And of course, as soon as it was shown off, they were super apologetic. Oh, we apologize. We're going to take it out. All of that, right? So to me, if you saw this and it was a no-go for you, do you. Like, I have no fault at all. Like, as I say, you know, I will be here beating the drum as a one-man band, talking about every time Square seems to show somebody that looks like me, it seems like they got something to say, right? So I understand that. I definitely understand how folks feel about it. Did this move anything for you, Everborn? Did you see this come up? Oh, I'm not sure if you're there. Everborn, you hear me?
All right, no, I'm here. I had to run out of the room for a second.
No worries.
Called me. All right, what is this thing?
Well, this is basically a frame. They took I suspect it's in public domain right now. They took.
It's about half a second of one of the 22 episodes of this old kids cartoon from Russia, Eastern Europe.
Okay, and that was in the game.
That was in the game, yeah. So if you
they
happen
play
to stop
all
and
22
watch
episodes. You can watch them if you want.
Yeah, if you happen to stop and watch it, you at some point will see this character, this native African character, you know, very, very stereotypically depicted.
Definitely should have edited this out. That's all I'm gonna say.
Absolutely.
And they should have edited it out.
Absolutely.
I'll leave it there because I don't have all of the context.
Yep.
But from the context I do have, if you were gonna put it there, you should have edited that out.
Well, if I had to guess, I doubt they watched all 22 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
like if
that's
you're going to
my
put
that's
something
the
in,
problem,
you should watch
right?
it all. But yeah, and that comes down to like scope and team size and all these different things. Like, well, this is public domain. We can pop this in. It should be fine. And you have to think, oh, it's 70 years old. It might not be fine. We should probably spend a couple hours one day and just watch everything carefully.
And shout out to Lucius Augustus in the chat saying, I imagine most Russian people have very little interaction or thought process of black people and our sensibilities. So they didn't even think about it. That is where I really think it is, right? And that stuff that explanation gets levied onto a lot of Asian material, Japanese material that also has that kind of depiction. Oh, they don't know better. Oh, they don't interact with them as much, so it's not as a big. You know what I'm saying? But it's definitely not okay. Let me be absolutely clear. It is definitely not okay. I'm not saying it's okay. And if you are offended by that, I am in no way, shape, or form criticizing you for being offended by that. It deserves. People need to feel respected in the world we live in today, and these are artifacts of the past. Like one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, Short Circuit. I can't watch that anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, we live in that world where, like, to me, it's always been so built into the cake that when I see that, I go, it's just more chum for the fire, basically, to me, right? Doesn't mean I'm condoning it. Doesn't mean I'm saying, oh, it's no big deal. It is definitely a big deal. And if that's the reason why you're like, okay, I'm done with these guys, that is your choice to make. And I have no issues with you making that choice. Absolutely.
And
100%.
one of the things that always gets me is people are like, oh, people are so sensitive. And it's like, no, it always offended people. It's just people finally feel safe enough to tell you it offended them.
Absolutely.
Because in the past, you couldn't say shit or else you get attacked or killed. Because
100%. Yes. And of course, we all approach this from different perches, right? I am African, I am African American, but more African than American because I came here on a plane. Right? So my sensibilities, like when we have these conversations, to me, I always put it in this is games. We don't move the ball forward when these things happen, but it's games. As you're saying, Jesse, there are people where in my continent that are literally like losing their lives every day. To me, that deserves far more attention than some dumb cartoon but that's my perch on it, right? Doesn't make this any less of a valid issue to talk about.
I need an update for this game, and I need them to take that out.
Oh yeah, they've already come out and said they're going to update and take it out. Like they were real quick. Let me find that, right. They definitely already came out and said, "Oh, we're so sorry, apologetic, all of that."
If the French government can come out and say Black Panther misrepresented, the
French,
French,
which was hogwash. Like, oh my God, it was hilarious.
We can say take this out.
Oh yeah. No doubt.
They were
no
never
doubt.
going to keep it. I think it's just they didn't know it was there, and that's on them.
Yeah.
They should.
Okay, so
if you're going to put an old show into something, you need to watch the old show closely a few times to just make sure it's okay.
So they basically came out and said the Monkfish team thanks the PC Gamer, which found it, contributor for bringing this lack of sensitivity. Oh, and of course I clicked it away. Hold on. Bringing this lack of sensitivity to our attention. We apologize if using this vintage cartoon or music has caused hurt and insult. We will edit the parts in question. Oh, and by the way, I appreciate that they did that. Anybody that hears the music whenever the Ice Cream Man shows up, like if you ever heard that Ice Cream Man song, like it's pervasive. Look up the words to that song. Look it up. Oh my God. And it still plays in your neighborhood to this very day. They just removed the words
there's like a podcast that goes into the origin of a lot of different phrases and words, and so many things we use. If you actually know where they came from and what they originally meant, you would
lose your freaking mind. Like that cartoon, that song, the ice cream song, made me look around, and for a moment I was like, "What the actual?" word I won't use in this context, but
So here's the thing, I know that's not what we're doing here.
Sure.
But in case anyone is thinking that's what's happening, I'll just say this for posterity.
Please.
You get pulled over by a cop. You can't say, but the other guys were speeding. What we're talking about right now is this thing that they should have vetted, and it never should have been there.
100%.
And an apology and removing it is fine. But what would have been better is if they looked at the actual content they were putting in there
100%
before they did it.
Yep. And I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all.
I don't have anything else to add.
No.
It's one of the
Let's be
the
clear,
many areas where you see this is a small team's first game where they don't know the proper practices, and the main thing you can try and do is point things out.
And they deserve the smoke for it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and if it happens again with them, then you realize, might not have been a mistake. But
they 100% deserve the smoke for it. I will not in any way, shape, or form deny that. Look, my perch in saying this is maybe you expect me to be more animated about it. My explanation is that's why I'm not so animated about it, because to me it's everywhere. I see it all the time, right? And it's just par for the course for me. But doesn't mean that it's right. Doesn't mean that you cannot. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't take that pitchfork from off frame and come for them, because they deserve all that righteous smoke, 100%. And again, this is like fresh for me. I passed through the game. I didn't even see a single one. I didn't see any of the
it's like
cartoons.
28 episodes, so it's 99% of people playing it will never see that half a second. But the fact that it's there is bad.
I would like an acknowledgement that they didn't know it was there versus they thought it was fine and they didn't know people would get upset. If they actually didn't know it was there and someone can say that, at least stand by that, I'd feel better about the situation. Because it also could be the scenario where they saw it there, but they figured it was vintage. Like, there's people that don't think you should take out the Sambo birds from the old Disney cartoons, right?
Yeah.
And they say you should preserve it. It's not that you advocate for anything for that, but it was there, and we should just keep it for posterity. And people can feel that way. That's fine for them to feel that way. But I'd feel better about this situation if we knew what their stance was. Did they not know people were going to get upset and people got upset so they're removing it? Or did they just not vet it? And like, that's bad, but it's not as bad as if they knew it was there.
If it was there, and Lucius Augustus agrees with you. He's saying, was it ignorance or was it intentionally? Yeah, and I would ideally like to know that, because if it was intentional and they thought, it's not a big deal, it's an artifact of history, then the pitchforks are out and we coming for you. Like, that's it. If you needed to be educated, we will educate you, and it will be what it is, and we'll keep moving. But if you did that on purpose, thinking it'd be no big deal, then we coming for you, and I'm right there with you, 100%. Let's round this conversation out with that last piece of news where Ukraine is trying to remove this game from digital shelves. I think their take is a little bit shallow as well, because as we've described, it's not necessarily as pro as you think. It just starts out that way, as most games do. But I think that's enough for them to be like, no, it's too pro SSR, pro Russia propaganda. We should get rid of it.
Well, they've also been like, well, the developer won't come out and say anything against the war of the government. And I'm like, well, it's because I wouldn't be shocked if they or their family or their friends are in Russia.
They want to eat. They want their children to grow up.
Well, you don't want to be to accidentally fall out of a window like this regime has lately. Like, you don't have the ability to talk against it. Like, if you're in that country,
you don't want to have to stab yourself in the back 3 times and then
you don't want to have to accidentally shoot yourself in the head 14 times.
That's right. You know what I mean?
We're used to it. And it's kind of similar thing that happened with J.K. Rowling in England, where the slander and libel laws are really strict. And you can't really say anything.
BBC had to apologize to her twice on full camera for what they said.
Unless you want to go to court. At least there you go to court. In friggin' Russia, you might end up going to a gulag or just falling out of a 15th story window. Like, you don't get to say the things that we're very used to getting to say. We can pretty much say whatever we want online and not expect some,
retaliation,
shady FBI guys to show up at the door in a couple days.
So while I hear folks talking about, they should be a bit more, come out a bit more about it, I honestly think they have done the best and again, this is my opinion, I think they've done their best by putting the criticism in the game itself, rather than standing there going, hey, we don't condone this, because they probably have family they want to keep alive. They probably have, you know what I mean? They don't have the benefit of just moving to California and saying, screw you guys, we're moving. Not everybody has that situation. The boots on the ground makes things a little different. And if you were boots on the ground there with that fear in that regime, you most likely wouldn't be as quick to be coming out and getting on the keyboards and Twitters and being critical, right? So it's not that simple, right? Obviously, it's very complicated, and it continues to be complicated. But I do think it's worth having a conversation about. And if because of this information it sways you one way or another, to me there's no wrong answer here, right? There is absolutely no wrong answer. The only thing that I tend to have a problem with in this situation is when people start grandstanding against others, like, why are you playing this? The whole thing that happened with Hogwarts. I don't see too much of that happening here with Atomic Heart.
Yeah, it's not as big a game, so it's not going to be as pervasive outside of our bubble.
Yeah. So, that's all there is to it. And you on me on this show, you guys know when these things pop up, I will not shy away from it. We will talk about it, whether I think it's a big deal or I think it's no big deal or whatever. We will talk about it, and you guys will have every opportunity to either tell me I'm wrong or we can chop it up as we do, because that's what this is about, right? So I personally think that it's a game worth grappling with because it's interesting in many ways, both the good and the bad, and I hope that more areas that aren't your stereotypical areas when you think of game making get a chance to take their bite at the apple and do weird things like this is being done. So I for one, I give so far 7.5, 8 out of 10. I think it's pretty strong. Including all the weird conversations and all the dialogue and the ridiculousness. I'm trying to mainline it because, boy, there are too many games coming out, and we're about to get into those games. But, I think it's worth spending some time and going through it and talking about it. So, but this conversation obviously will not end. Folks, as you do, and you guys do it always to me, and I appreciate that, in the comment section when this thing posts, if there's more conversations you want to have, more directions you want to go with it, do not be afraid. Do not be shy. Talk about it. I will answer any questions you want me to. We'll have that debate. I'll get Everborn involved if you think he's being too quiet about it. He just doesn't like the game as a game, I think. And this all just kind of, adds to that flavor, makes it go, let's move on.
You got to get used to using paddles. It's for anything where you are aiming all the time.
Yep.
To never have to take your finger off the stick is beautiful.
I gave my Elite version 1 to my nephew as a gift. And so I have a bunch of other controllers, but I refuse to buy an Elite because I feel like the Elite 3 is coming any time now.
It should be.
And maybe they're waiting for me to buy the Elite 2 before they
As they
it.
do, the Everborn curse.
Elite 2 has gotten super cheap. You can get the core for like $1.10 and then just buy the paddles and stuff on Amazon for 10 or $20.
Yeah. And by the way, the paddles and stuff are so cheap now. You can totally get them. Yeah. Well, just like Hogwarts Legacy, I'm sure we'll whittle you down.
It's just like Callisto's gonna go into Game Pass like next week because I paid full price for it. I just know that's gonna happen.
Of course it is. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for your continued support and you being here. We have 130 people in here. I think that's a new record. That's amazing. Thank you guys so much for being here. Continue to talk about it. Let's be in the chat. No wrong answers. As long as we're chopping it up and being very respectful to each other. That's all that matters here. But let's get into some games because I don't want this to be a 4-hour podcast. I want to talk about some games. I want to respect Mr. Jessie Norris' time. And real quick,
I'm going to see Cocaine Bear today.
Oh, wow.
That'd be fun.
There we go. With a title like that, how can you go wrong? Let's get into some of the state of play stuff, some of the PlayStation state of play stuff. I assume, you as a man who keeps your ears to the street, you probably watched this. Did you not?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Are you a VR guy? Are you not a VR guy?
I am. I love VR.
Okay. What is your mainline headset?
I get a Quest 2 that I use virtual desktop on to run to my PC.
So you're a PC VR guy, but you're using Quest 2. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, yep. I too am a VR guy. You will see many a VR headset if I ungray it. I'm a Quest 2 owner, Index owner, and the PSVR.
It's never far away from me.
There you go. Actually, you know what? I may have some stuff for you. We'll talk later. But anyway, did anything grab you on this PlayStation VR or non-VR? There were a bunch of games shown off, and I'll grab my notes while we talk here. Are there any standouts? Because I don't think we'll go through each and every one of them painstakingly, but are there any
Foundation
standouts for
VR
you?
is neat. It's really, I don't like the closed ecosystem. I don't like a wire when I'm playing VR, and it's been mostly ports so far. Like Horizon looks neat, but even that is pretty
very
much
limited. It looks very
the
limited.
climb. It's the climb and then crossbow shooting, but in a really pretty Horizon
in a
setting.
Horizon skin. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
Gran
absolutely.
Turismo 7 looks cool, but there's like already a million sim rig racers you can do VR on PC. Like the differentiator is something like Half-Life Alyx, and everyone's always asking for that one. And I don't know why Valve would give that up. That is their platform seller. So is getting 70% cut on what's going to be a much smaller audience overall worth losing their big exclusive that they pumped ridiculous amounts of money into? So that is the best VR game. I hope it goes there so more people can experience it, because that is a true 10 out of 10 game. I've never been a big Resident Evil fan. It's just too goofy for me, and it didn't play well until the more recent ones. I did give RE8 Gold a good review because I think it's a really good package overall. But the
have you played RE7 in VR?
I haven't. I never had a PSVR, which is also very sad that the actual VR versions of these games are limited to
the hardware,
just one headset, because I think VR can only really thrive and survive if it's open. And so having something closed that Sony's never going to open because they need software sales to make up the cost of the headset and the R&D and everything. That stinks. But I played the hacked Into It PC version VR, which worked pretty well. Yeah, that was fun.
So
RE4, I don't think I'm one of the few who thinks Resident Evil 4, the original, just doesn't hold up as a game. It's not fun to play at all. So I'm really looking forward to the remake, because I think that game desperately needed better controls and quality of life fixes and stuff. So I'm looking forward to that one. Not the biggest fighting game fan. Street Fighter 6 looks good, but it's not really my thing normally. And I'm one of the few that I love co-op games, and I'm very much looking forward to reviewing Suicide Squad, even though it's very different than I thought. I did not realize it was going to be Crackdown.
Let's talk about Suicide Squad for a little bit there. And Everborn, I want you to join this as well. Like, Rocksteady for me has been top tier like studio. They made a game that defined a genre for many, many years, right? Like, they were all about it. Like, and everywhere you'd look, you'd see Arkham Combat, because they set that standard.
It's in Hogwarts.
It's everywhere, yeah. But this showing, and I hope I'm wrong, and I'm checking my notes here. Like, I literally wrote, as soon as I saw it, I wrote, not a fan of the floaty traversal, the spongy enemies, and especially Harley Quinn, like, flying all over the place.
The editing was really bad.
Yeah.
Like, it's too quick. When you're going to show something for the first time, you should show it and not show very quick snippets of the same thing over and over.
So that part to me is a little bit concerning.
What part exactly?
The game is coming out this year. Like, if you're showing me a game, I feel like you said, show me the unedited footage. Show me do a mission from close to beating the beginning to
like
fighting a
Starfield
mini boss or whatever. Right.
They just showed like long segments of different things.
Right. But even they did do that with Starfield, but even then I still want to follow a mission, right? And Starfield had longer cuts, but it still wasn't what I like. So, for example, I know everybody gives it crap, right? But, when they showed off Craig, right? They shouldn't have showed that off because of the graphics, but you actually saw what the gameplay was, right? You really got a feel for it. When Sony shows off a level of a Spider-Man game, like, they're just going to show you a level here. Here's us playing the game. And the editing, I don't know if it was purposeful or we don't have a long shot that we're comfortable with, but it did feel weird to me. I will say though, the game does look a lot more fun than the half hour I played of Gotham Knights.
They're very
That's a low
different.
bar.
Gotham Knights is going, and I'm someone who really like Gotham Knights.
Right?
No, Gotham Knights is different. So
no, but they just really quick, and I'm sorry, just really quick. So they said this takes place 5 years after Gotham Knights.
This
So
one's
it's
in the
that
Arkham
universe.
verse.
It's an
this
Arkham
takes
verse,
place,
not Gotham.
Yeah, Yeah, Gotham Knights is its own continuity, and then Suicide Squad is part of the Arkham series.
Yeah, so it takes
they
takes place
said
5
Arkham
years
Knight,
after
not
their
Gotham
last game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Arkhamverse.
Yes.
Okay, but their last game was Arkham Knight.
Yes. The Batman
Okay,
game.
all right. I was going in there. I don't know why I heard Gotham. It's probably because I was playing it.
Yeah.
I heard Gotham Knight, so I'm like, wait, how is this in that?
Yeah, weird continuity.
world? All right, I'm completely confused. Forget about everything I said, please. Jesse, continue. I apologize.
Yeah, they're very different in the sense that Gotham Knights was going more for a co-op version of the Arkham games, and this is taking the Arkham universe and story, and after canceling 2 games on them and then handing them WB Montreal's original project, which was this, Rocksteady has built pretty much a Crackdown game with people calling it a Battle Pass game, but it's just more, there's a full story mode, and then after that, they just give you a bunch of probably
I think they're calling it a Battle
endgame
Pass game
shit.
because in the game, when they hit the menu system, there's a screen that says Battle Pass.
Yeah,
So
and,
it's like,
and a
oh,
lot
no!
of single, like pretty much any game that is either co-op or has any type of PvP is gonna do Battle Pass stuff now because people want them because they make the most money in all the video games. You can't avoid them. I know people get mad at devs and like, oh, just give me a single player game that's completely done when it's done. It's like, well, no, those don't make enough money. They're not going to do that anymore. We're well past that. But yeah, so this is a up to 4-player co-op Crackdown, but with DC characters essentially is what it looks like, and I'm in for that.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I'm excited.
Crackdown was fun.
I know I'm also in a very different position because I don't buy things normally anymore. I pay with my time, so I'll pay with 50 hours in a week to get a review done.
Time is money.
Indeed
That's
it
the
is.
thing. Like, I'm not even worried about like paying for the games, whatever. That's the hobby. But like for me, this is why I'm like taking my time before choosing what game to play because time is so important. Every time I'm playing a game, I'm not like getting work done. I'm not spending time. Sometimes you're spending time if you're playing co-op, but I don't play co-op. But my point is, there's like things that I could be doing like life-wise when I'm playing this game, so it has to be worth the time, even more so than the money.
Yep.
Right?
And 2023 has already been ridiculous, and it's only going to get
Gonna
more
get worse.
ridiculous for game releases. So you really do have to pick and choose what do I have the time to even play. That's what kills me about all the list warring I see online, because there's too much for there's nobody out there that can play everything, and for the majority of people, they can't play a tenth of what's coming out.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about the list warring. There's too many games. Even if you only touched Game Pass, there's
absolutely.
too many things already.
Yep.
It'll be fine.
So I will quickly breeze through this, and I will say, one thing, and I know we're dumping on the PlayStation State of Play, saying that much of it wasn't really for us. I'm seeing sparks of hope, like the weird indie focused Sony seems to be coming back. Some of the stuff they showed here was quirky and unusual, and not as safe and big budgeted as we expect.
They're in between their AAA, which is when they then go back
lean
and
onto
hit indie real hard. Yeah.
I actually want to play this Humanity right here. This looks very weird and strange and
Tetris Effect people.
Tetris Effect people, exactly. I'm a big fan of that. I wasn't a huge fan of Goodbye Volcano High, but I'm sure some people will like that. Hi-Fi Rush has brought back the rhythm shooters to the zeitgeist. So this one seems to have a bit of those elements as well. I'm hoping that it gets
rhythm
the
dating.
Following. Rhythm dating, exactly.
Rhythm furry dating.
And then of course, all the various. There were a lot of great games. I too, I'm a lapsed fighting game fan, but man, I might buy Street Fighter 6 because it's been a while. And it looks really good. It looks like they've matured the characters. I'm liking what I see there. We will skip through most of it because it was 45 minutes, and I think it wasn't 45 minutes well spent. Usually Sony is the master of these shows, and I feel like they've lost something a little bit here.
Honestly, the state of plays are normally this. It changed a little last year because they didn't do a showcase.
Okay.
So they had a couple state of plays that were just their showcase chopped up. And so people got used to those having bigger things on them.
Sure.
Like without Capcom, most of their state of plays would be mostly like a Nindies show.
Sure, okay.
Because then they do their own, their big showcase, which I think Grubb said should be before E3 this year, finally doing another one of those because it's been like a year and a half since they've done
they've
one.
been very quiet. Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
so
their
maybe we'll see
games
the big
take a
stuff
long
there.
time. Like even The Horizon Forbidden West DLC that's coming out is like 6 or 7 years in dev. Ragnarok was 7 or 8 years total. Like they start up dev on the next thing, the pre-production, before the first one comes out because they know their pipeline and they're locked in. But none of these things are fast. It just never ends up being a quick, steady thing. And they really wanted to front load this generation to try and just immediately outright win it.
To win it,
and then
so
COVID hit
far
and they couldn't do that.
Hasn't happened for them. Okay.
Yeah, COVID really messed that plan up.
So I will let's take this last game here and go on to the story that it presented. Larian Studios, right? They announced Baldur's Gate 3 on PlayStation on the State of Play, and then of course people started digging through, and Larian came out on their Twitter post, and we're talking about how it's releasing on PC, on Mac, and on PlayStation 5 day one, but not on Xbox, right? First and foremost, people were up in arms. Oh, it has to be a controversy. Oh, it has to be exclusivity, this and that. Larian, of course, came out and said, no exclusivity. You know, it's just that PlayStation's version is coming out versus Xbox's Xbox version, which is still in development. Since that time, a lot of information has gone back and forth, right? IGN has reported that they spoke with Larian Studios, and Larian spoke about the Series S potentially being the issue, or S and X, which is what was said, right? They're trying to
even though they're even coming out now trying to damage control that they didn't say it was the fault of the
exactly, yeah,
did.
So it's basically
they
sparking
said that it's
conversation. Go ahead.
Their split screen co-op on the Series X and the Series S is not up to the standard that Microsoft would want for it to be released. What that ends up meaning, people who there's always this narrative going around about the Series S holding the gen back.
Oh yeah, the chat's already talking about it right now.
Andrew Wilkins is really on one today. It's pretty much it is a Series X, but everything chopped down. The main thing chopped down is the memory. And as anyone who's ever coded anything, and I've only done college projects at school, including some gaming stuff, and memory ends up being a huge constraint that you have to optimize for. So people always want to push towards and talk about that one first, ignoring the fact that every otherwise, the Series S is spec-wise way above the minimum requirements on a PC.
Yep.
And this thing runs fine on a Steam Deck, which is less than a Series S.
That was the first thing I was going to say. This will be butter on a Steam Deck, but for some reason, the Series S is going to hold it back. The Steam Deck is far less powerful.
But it runs on the Vulkan API instead of DirectX, and DirectX is a place where they've been having issues on PC. Yeah. And so getting that DirectX, which is the same on PC, Xbox, and that's their whole thing with the GDK.
Yep.
So trying to get it to run.
API. Absolutely.
Yeah. So trying to get their API stuff to work right is why the game's not announced. It's not delayed. They keep telling people it's not delayed. We've just not announced that version or that date yet because we're not 100% sure that it will be ready in 6 months.
Because we're not 343.
Oh, that's just slander,
they don't
bro.
They don't have a giant corporation above them saying, "Well,
this is what I was
going to
say, Jesse. Absolutely. If you know Larian, like Divinity: Original Sin 1 and 2, great games, PC games. They were awesome games. Games that go off they are hardcore RPGs.
It's funny. This is not going to be a big mass market game because they're so hard and niche,
hardcore,
but they're really good.
Yeah.
So, but I want to make a confession.
Well, let me make a quick point. I will let you speak. I promise you, Everborn. The reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is Larian has always been this way. They make the PC game, and then a year and a half later, the console games come out. They just let the PC game live for a while, and then when the console game comes out, they go, oh, by the way, here's a server so you can take your save and play it in either place you want. So I was never surprised when I saw this, because that's Larian. They're not really a big studio that releases it all at the same time. My thought on it was maybe Sony just handed the bag and helped them make their version sooner or something like that. Either way, it wasn't a big deal. Everborn, please continue.
So I learned a new phrase yesterday, which is CRPG, right? So we know an ARPG is an action RPG, and a WRPG is a Western RPG, and a JRPG is a Japanese RPG. But everyone was throwing around the term CRPG yesterday, and apparently that means classic RPG.
Yes, like hardcore old school RPG. Yes. An
Or
RPG that
computer.
that can literally take you anywhere you want. You want to be the guy who talks your way through everything? You can do that in this game, in Larian's games, right? You don't have to. It's not a gated system that always keeps you fighting. If you want to be a smooth talker, go for it. It may work for you. It may not. You know, every enemy can be talked down if you can do so. It's very hardcore in its systems to get you there.
And I always thought like it stood for a computer role-playing game, like the old style, text-heavy, choose your own adventure D&D type of, and that became more the 3/4 over-the-shoulder stuff like Neverwinter Nights and Baldur's Gate and whatnot. That were computer games first
Salute to
that
Dorian
really
Gray.
focused on being huge.
Yep, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So the other thing is, so when I first saw this news, the first thing I thought was, good, Microsoft used this in court, right? Which is the most that I care about this.
He's trying to keep the salt alive. Keep the salt alive.
I always knew that. Excuse me. I knew that I was gonna check this game out at some point, but it was one of those things where it's like, the trailers have never wowed me, but like when you say Larian's name in the streets, you know,
People know.
heads turn, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I feel like this is something I should know about. I should.
The Divinity series
experience.
was their Sunset Overdrive to be able to get this IP. Like they know what they're talking about, and that's why they've been allowed to do Baldur's Gate. People need to play the Divinity series. It's so good. It really is beautiful
Now,
too.
How would you compare them to what's Microsoft's RPG studio that they have a
You
lot?
mean-
I got a bunch. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. But in XGS, that's not Obsidian. Well, I
That's
can't.
the
In,
Game
in
Studios?
Exile.
In Exile. Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you compare them to In Exile?
I would say In Exile, and Jesse, please correct me. I would say In Exile is probably a more mature, more experienced version of Larian. Larian seems to be on that path, but In Exile has a lot more skin in the game. They've been at it for a little longer, right? So
Yeah, well, In Exile was Brian Fargo, and he was like the original Fallout and that type of stuff. Larian's been around a while. They've been around like 20 years.
Yeah.
It's more the they both started out with a huge computer focus, and In Exile swapped over a little more to I mean,
console.
especially once they got bought by Xbox, they swapped over more to console. They're pretty similar. I liked Wasteland 3 quite a bit,
Yep.
which was very much a CRPG, like the Bard's Tale series and stuff. They're
Yep.
similar, but Larian goes for more difficulty. I feel like Larian really wants more openness in what you can do.
Yeah, the
and more
systems are
difficulty,
really
so-
open-ended.
Yeah,
with
it
Larian.
ends up being a little less like polished feeling because they let you break it in ways if you want.
Yeah, no, I
Right,
I don't
so-
disagree on that. Absolutely.
So for me, right? Excuse me. I looked at this, and this was a whole like drama for like 8 hours, right? Because
Most folks
They
weren't gonna play it
announced-
anyway, right?
they weren't. I'm sorry. Like you have.
I
to
know
be
that's
a-
where you're going. I know it. I know
It's
that's
only
where
a
you're
certain category of people, right? So for me, I was like, well, it'll come to Xbox when it comes to Xbox, or maybe this is a Final Fantasy situation or a Knights of the Old Republic situation. I don't care, but there are people who do care. But I would contest that 90% of the people that were not named Pixelbit G, they were never going to play it.
Hey! I was gonna play this because I'm a huge Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2 fan. So I was in the bag from day
a
one.
lot of the worry came from when Sony does marketing deals sometimes. Like if you remember Diablo 3 on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, we didn't know that the game was coming to Xbox 360 until the day of launch, and then all of a sudden there's a version of it because the marketing deal simply stated they cannot mention that this game even exists. So there's precedent on being worried about that being the situation.
100%. And so that was the point I was coming to. People that were pretending like my thing is, if you were gonna play it like the two people here, then you have every right to complain. I just wasn't gonna complain because I was never looking at that game as something that was like a need to have, right? However, you can forgive people for jumping to conclusions because of look at the entire history of how these marketing deals play out. You're at a PlayStation show, right? This is a game just like what they call in the streets Stellar Cheeks, aka
Stella Yams.
Blade.
Stella Yams.
Like
Stella Cake, as
that
they call
game
it.
was supposed to be a multi-plat game, and then you just stop hearing about it on Xbox, and now it's a PlayStation exclusive.
So it did come out on that one that they actually were going bankrupt, and Sony gave them a bunch of money to
good
even
on Sony,
exist.
and Sony
So
deserved
in
it.
that case, it's okay.
Yeah.
Other
Listen,
times,
even
so-
if that was the case with Larian, I was okay with it, right? You can't say that you have In Exile, who is, even though they're quiet, about to drop another game soon after they gave you Wasteland, so you know what kind of games they do.
Yep.
And then if this Activision deal closes, you're getting Diablo, and then you're getting Starfield this year. If PlayStation has one Western RPG, I know there's a CRPG, but you know what I'm saying, let them have it.
True.
Right?
True. Yeah.
This is that's not their strong suit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for
This
me,
became a
it was
talking
like-
point for the list wars. That's what it was. That's what this became. Yeah.
So
Well,
for
it's just
me,
so much just not knowing. I think people get really annoyed when you don't know, and that ends up happening a lot with their marketing deals. So it's built up frustration.
Oh,
And
exactly.
And someone like Jez from Windows Central, who really loves the game in the studio and likes playing things on Xbox, especially because it's the main thing he covers, really, gets
upset.
emotional and
Yes, absolutely.
about it, and people follow that lead, and so it all built up pretty quickly. And then
Oh, so
thankfully
you're
they
saying
came
Jez
out.
Corden's the one who grabbed the pitchforks? Okay, I'll clip that.
no,
let
no,
him
no.
know.
But what I'm saying is, during Fog of War, you can forgive everyone for thinking that, because in every other case, this is how it works. So if you don't hear it happening, they didn't have any clarification until people pressed them.
Yeah, true.
So I feel like the
True.
people should have said something, because then we would have just been in the dark. Sony would have got all the mind share. There's a lot of people who would have just bought it on PlayStation, even though they didn't want to, right? Because there was no clarification. Now, a lot of those people are either really and truly, though, no one's going to buy this on PlayStation either. If you like this game, you're probably a PC
Gonna play on
gamer.
PC. Yeah, I would love to.
9 out of 10
Their
times,
their
right?
their their,
So-
their console control implementation has gotten good over time. So maybe they'll get more now because the IP is a big IP, right? The Divinity Original Sin was their own IP, and people didn't know what it was, and it actually surprised people how good it was. So it's that's why I say it was their Sunset Overdrive, to the Spider-Man. For people who are big into CRPGs, this is the big behemoth. Yeah, you really want Baldur's Gate to come back to the point where actually Baldur's Gate is now free, being given away on various services to get people ready for Baldur's Gate 3, right? So,
Right.
I do understand why people were up in
No,
arms.
I'm
a bit
just
about it,
saying, in this instance, nobody should be coming at Jez because everybody thought the same thing,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they
yeah.
could be forgiven for thinking the same
Of course,
thing.
of course,
But the devs clarified it. Now, I feel like they should have clarified it on Twitter while the show was going on.
Yeah, they should have been a
and-
bit
and
more
this whole thing would
open
have
about
been could have been
Knowing-
ignored.
Knowing how these shows go, like Xbox couldn't tweet out Suicide Squad for 24 hours. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these places agree
They weren't allowed
for
to
a
talk.
set period of time, we're not going to talk about any other
So-
platforms.
So then, Sony was involved.
Oh,
I know
yeah,
everybody
yeah.
tries to
There's
pretend.
got to be
and
some
people-
money
to blame
involved.
for
Yeah.
People got very mad at Xbox because there was 1 to 3 days on last June where Persona 5, 3, and 4, it just said Xbox, and then at 1 day later it said Switch, PC, PlayStation 5 as well. So it's a pretty standard practice.
All right,
Which is
ladies
fine,
and
but-
gentlemen.
But
okay,
well,
go
let
ahead.
me
Yeah, yeah.
just finish this point.
Finish up. Finish up.
So, the first thing I saw this, I tweeted out, F is for foreclosure, because we keep talking about how apparently exclusive games are illegal now if you didn't make them in house, right? But so that's the only interest I had in this, and I'm not saying it's not my interest in the game. My thing is when it comes out, it comes out. I'm literally just now playing Forbidden West. I don't need to play games on day one.
So
if a
Everborn
game
was
is
in it for the
delayed
smoke, is what you're saying. He was in it for the smoke.
If a game is delayed 3 to 6 months, I can wait that.
Yeah.
Most games ship and I don't know Larian's pedigree, but most games ship broken on day one anyway. So I try to go out of my way unless it's just like something I have to play. Like I wasn't gonna play that game day one. So if it gets delayed for some technical issues, so what?
Yeah, no,
right.
I hear you.
But people that got upset, they got upset. I just again want Microsoft to use this to any advantage that they can, because for all we know, Sony could still throw the bag at them. Right?
True.
And they could throw an offer that they can't refuse. And you can't tell me that's a conspiracy theory, because it has happened many times.
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Right?
Yeah, no,
so
right.
you don't know until you're playing that game and it's downloaded that it's actually coming to you.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
This is why, to me, the word timed exclusive is just an exclusive until I can play it. Everybody tries to say, oh, well, it's not a full exclusive. Final Fantasy wasn't supposed to be a full exclusive.
True.
Right?
There are literally like ads on the
Kenna Bridge of
cards.
Spirits?
Well, yeah, that's
on
another
Xbox.
Thing. Yeah.
Right? So you have no idea what could happen and what could work out, because if it is a hit, I guarantee you Sony will want to lock it down so it's associated with the platform. So I say
Pixel Bit G's on the violence train with you. He says Microsoft should buy Larian and cancel the Sony version.
I'll do one better. If you want to be the petty police, because this is what I would do.
What would you do?
I would keep Starfield in June when it's going to come out, close Activision, and drop Diablo 4 on August 31st right on their head, if it was me. But thankfully it's not me.
It might actually still happen that way, because I'm still on Team June, and more it's seeming that I'm right. But okay. Let me before we continue, because we're gonna move on here. Let me first and foremost say thank you to the people who voted in the chat. I asked what did y'all think of the state of play. I say of the 51 people that voted, 4% said A or B, 31% said C, and 65% said D. Now, our audience may be more Xbox focused. Who knows? But we all like to play games here. Like even when they, I would say that by and large, the community as a whole has anointed PlayStation as the standard in how you show games and their marketing and all of that. And this was one of their unfortunate ones that needed a bit of work. It doesn't seem like they were shooting on all cylinders on this one. Right?
This was back to what state of plays normally are instead of what we got used to. Yes, absolutely.
Showcase
replacements.
And we have Splendiferous, great community member in here. Yeah, there will be soon enough. Just pump your brakes, sir. Give him time to breathe.
I've been hearing that for about a year now.
Splendiferous in here. Thank you so much for being here. He can't be here long. He dropped his $2 super chat, and he says he's taking a certifications course, but he's here just to show some love. Appreciate you, sir. Whenever you get a chance to watch this, leave your comments in the chat. I always love going back and forth with you, sir. We'll talk about what your thoughts are later. But okay, let us move quickly along, because we have an Xbox focused gentleman on the channel. A lot of Xbox fans in here. I thought this was a little sad news, telegraphed news. You kind of saw it coming, but a little sad. And we're not going to spend too much time on this because I want to touch a few more before we go. But Shinji Mikami, creator of Resident Evil, Bethesda's Tango Gameworks, has finally put in his papers. We don't know where he's going. We don't know if he's retiring, going to go chill out on that beach with Notch, or if next week you hear he has a new studio and he's signed to PlayStation. Who knows? We don't know that yet, right? But after Hi-Fi Rush came out, he helped Sherpa that, and gave new members of his team chances to shine. Now he's bowing out. I wasn't surprised at seeing this. I thought it was unfortunate. Myself and Everborn were in here talking about, hey, with Tango Gameworks, they've kind of they've backdoored themselves into the Japanese market, having a studio there. Maybe somebody of Shinji Mikami's pedigree and his respect in that region. Maybe you empower him to, be the head of studios for multiple studios there, or use him as your ambassador to that region, and hopefully it'll open more doors. So far, it looks like that may not be what's going on here. Jesse, what do you think? is this expected?
It seemed like he was staying there as long as he could to make sure, because I know he was worried about this studio just being shut down if he wasn't there. And then once Hi-Fi Rush hit and was super popular and like people liked Evil Within 2, then that same guy comes out with Hi-Fi Rush. I think he finally feels confident enough to
So
do
even
what he
after
always planned
Microsoft
to
bought
do.
the studio, there was still fear that might have been closed.
No. So
Yep.
can I do this one, Jesse?
Yep.
Just really quick.
Go for it.
So what happens is you buy the studio, and a lot of the people, and this is the same thing we saw with Bungie and the Sony purchase. You know, the heads of the studios, the names that everybody
collect
knows,
the check. Yes.
That check has to vest, right? So you can't get it if you just leave
Over
on
X
day
amount
one.
of months, years, or whatever.
And
yeah.
if we notice, Shinji Mikami, he shepherded Hi-Fi Rush, but he wasn't the director.
No,
so
he
he
was not.
has his generals in place to carry on, and Microsoft is not going to shut down that studio, but Bethesda may have. But it's like he was talking about potentially leaving before the Microsoft deal, and now
okay.
he stays, helps them ship out, one, which is my favorite game so far of all the games I've played this year.
Yeah.
And now I think he can leave, and it's in good hands, and he has his generals in place to go kind of do what they do. So, I think he has put in so much work in this industry that he deserves to do whatever he wants now. He deserves to write his own check. And if he wants to move on and just be rich and comfortable, or he wants to start his own thing doing whatever he wants.
He was talking about a sci-fi
totally
game
okay
a
with
long
that.
time ago. He was talking about wanting to make a sci-fi game. Maybe we see a studio.
Listen,
from
that
him
may
with
still be in the pipeline.
Maybe,
right?
maybe that'd be interesting. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I think we all saw this happening sooner rather than later. The one question the first thing that popped up. Wow. Okay. No, that's just crazy, man. I got to stop for a moment. We have never had such a number on our show before. Jericho with the $100 super chat. Brother,
By the way, does anybody remember that show Jericho with the
Of course I do. It was a great show. Great show. I loved that show.
fantastic show.
Yeah, I missed that show. Bro, next time, leave a comment. Let us know you're out there. Bro, we appreciate this. Is crazy, bro. That is just nuts. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow. I'm taken aback real quick here. That's just never seen that shiny color on my screen before. Thank you so much. But yeah, my only question I want to ask here, right? And that's the first thing that came to my mind because, Shenji was telegraphed a bit, but there were two others that have also been telegraphed a bit that we are waiting to see when that shoe drops, so to speak. Todd Howard and Phil Spencer. I will go to you first, Jesse. When do you think we see this from them? Or is that just rumor and speculation that we shouldn't expect it anytime soon?
Never know. Like, Todd is in a position where he's gotten more time than ever to make his dream game that he's wanted to do. The Elder Scrolls coming next. I don't know. I don't see that one anytime soon. With Phil, it just comes down to, like, how big a headache and what's the work-life balance like things we can never know and only guess about. So I would say I have no idea, but I hope neither of them are anytime soon.
Anytime soon, yeah.
So
how about you?
The first thing I said to you when I saw the Shinji Mikami thing, I was like, does Todd ship his masterpiece with Starfield and then say I did all I could do?
Well, I mean, his masterpiece would be the next Elder Scrolls, right?
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I think he stays at least until the next Elder Scrolls.
His magnum opus, if you will.
And then man deserves it, right? So and then for Phil. I don't know, right? Because a lot of what's going on is hinged around that. So I don't know that he leaves right now. Especially if Activision comes into the fold. I think that whole deal is going to be designed around that transition from Bobby Kotick, which I don't think is going to leave right away. I don't know. A lot of people think that. I think Bobby is going to stay around for at least a year or more to handle the transition and train his replacement, whoever that's going to be, is going to report to Phil. And if Phil did go, you know who I think they should get to replace him? Everybody says Sarah Bond. I know that's the easy thing to say.
Yeah.
Right? You know who I put there?
Who?
I get the Brinks truck and I'm pulling up to Strauss Zelnick's house.
You
The
think
man
he'll
is a
leave? He'll
killer.
leave Take-Two to come to Microsoft.
Listen, come to the money team.
See, I thought you were gonna pull something crazy, like you were gonna pull the Brinks truck up to the old school and try to bring old
Peter Moore.
Peter Moore back. I thought he was going Peter Moore. I knew he was.
Listen, let me tell you something. If you put Peter Moore in charge of things now, like there would actually be competition concerns because Peter Moore would stomp Sony out of existence. Right? There's no coexisting with Peter Moore.
He'd be like,
give him the kind of budget that
From what I know
gaming
about Sarah
division has
Bond,
now.
she's pretty similar.
She's a bit of a pit bull, bro. She just has a very good presentation. She's a bit of a pit bull. I get that too. Yes, yeah. Now, although maybe she ends up running things at Activision, right? Blizzard already has a Microsoft step in already doing the job. They will have to replace Kotick at some point.
I think you put Sarah Bond as Bobby's replacement to maybe groom, because she's very young. So you can groom her We're talking about if Phil leaves right away.
Yeah. Well, listen to Pixel Bit G's suggestion here. It's slanderous, but I see it, baby. I see it. He says Lulu can have Aaron Greenberg's job. Man, y'all out there some pitchforks, right? You want there to be blood in the streets.
I think they can work together.
No, I like Aaron. I think Aaron's a good hype man for the brand. I think
one thing to always remember, in dealing with Xbox and then dealing with Bethesda, is they are still completely separate companies. Like they work together on things, but Bethesda has their same
limited
exact
integration
corporate hierarchy. ABK will have their same corporate hierarchy, just without Bobby Kotick or that. They will dissolve that board like they did with ZeniMax. So I don't see any Xbox executives just shuffling between the companies. They'll want their own people, essentially, whatever that ends up being. Probably names we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what's going to be interesting is the new the Microsoft gaming structure, right? Because it's basically like the heads of all these places are going to now report to Phil. So there will need to be a new head of Xbox while Phil moves up the hierarchy to the head of Microsoft Gaming. So
he's already there. The head of anything Xbox is Matt Booty for their
true.
studios. So their studios report to Matt. ZeniMax is reporting Robert Altman's son. I can't remember his name. Is generally their guy, and Pete Hines, and those are like.
I thought Pete Hines was marketing. Is he more?
He got an upgrade.
Okay.
During the time when they first started really making the rounds, you could see they were pushing Pete Hines.
Yeah, he's the head of publishing now for Bethesda. Pete Hines.
Yeah.
SVP of Global Marketing and Communications, and he does a lot.
Yeah.
Full-time head of publishing since October.
Yeah, I can see it. He knows how to talk. He knows how to speak to the people. He's the one you put out there when there's bad information that needs to be disseminated, but still keep the peace. He knows how to really get it there. Some of the folks at Xbox may have had issues in the past with that, but it seems that he's really on point with that.
The reason I say you give Strauss the Brinks truck because he is always on.
He's on brand. He's always on brand. Yes.
Every interview you see him in, the man knows how to manage a service like
he joined.
business.
He was on on Everborn's radar the minute he said how many subscribers do we have? When he said "we" that first time, Everborn was like, "I see you," and ever since he's been on Strauss.
And then when he was the first one with the courage, I was going to use another word, but there may be kids watching. He was the first one with the courage to come out and say there's only one person that's opposed to one company that's opposed to the deal, and we see it as fine for competition because you got to compete on the content.
Yes, sir.
Right? The man is already in pocket.
We're going to get there, too, because I want to talk a bit more about that. But let's take a quick detour, right? I wanted to talk about a bit of the March game, PlayStation, the PlayStation Extra and PlayStation Plus. Did you just recently, Everborn, say you bought Forbidden West on sale?
Yes, and then it immediately
went into PlayStation Plus. Yes, absolutely. So I wanted to quickly talk to you guys, and we won't belabor the point too much, but is it interesting to you guys that more and more of their AAAs seem to now be coming into their subscription service? It's a year, but it looks like it used to not even be a year. It was just never going to be there. Now it's like
there is a difference. This one is right before an expansion hits, and so it's trying to get those people that wouldn't have bought it otherwise, and now they're like, "Ooh, and there's an expansion coming. I'll buy that now that I get the game."
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, this was always the thing that I said about PlayStation Plus. If they can't afford to take the sales hit,
they shouldn't have
the
the
way
subscription.
Microsoft can on the day and date, then give us a hard cut,
kind of like the
so
TV movie.
Right. Like how you go to the movies, they say 45 days, right?
Yeah.
I feel like PlayStation should just give us a hard date, say all our first party stuff will be here in 6 months or a year. Like one of those two, and you can make that decision. So yes, I'm going to pay you this money every month, but that's so I can get these things. And for the bigger games that I can't wait for the 6 months or a year, then I'll get that. But now it's like we'll put these things in here when we feel like it, because we don't really have that much respect for you.
But I mean, if you look at this history though, if you look at this history though, they're now starting to build a cadence. Last month, which is this month currently, is your Forbidden West. Next month is Uncharted. Like they're doing that now.
That's fine, but they don't have to do it because they've made no promises.
There's no promises made. Absolutely. On that point, I agree with you. Yes. Absolutely.
So Ragnarok, there's nothing saying Ragnarok has to go in there in November of this year.
True. That is true.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Ragnarok's the biggest seller, so I wouldn't be surprised.
It probably wouldn't be. Yeah, it probably wouldn't be.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I really feel like that's the promise they should make to their customers. And when they do, I will subscribe to the premium tier of PlayStation Plus.
I already have the premium tier. I have subscribed.
Yeah, they're not getting my money. They only got
$40 for
online access. I pay them for the online access, but that's all they will get. And until they respect my money, they're not gonna get any more of it, right? So I'm saying, obviously, I'm still buying these.
You're paying $70 games. That's right.
But they're not gonna get my money in a subscription service until they respect me as much, at least half as much as the competition. And now the other thing is about this, and I'm glad you brought this up, because this is also a pseudo announcement of Ghostwire coming to Xbox in March.
Yes, sir.
Right? We know they can't say it, but if they're showing it here, if Deathloop release tells us anything, we're about to get Ghostwire on Xbox.
Oh yeah.
And I am 100%. Here for that.
100%. And it's a great game. I liked that game. It was missing. To me, it was missing some magic. But like as soon as I saw that the way the game played, my first instinct was, where is my Doctor Strange game, you cowards? That was the most. That is so good.
Doctor Strange game.
Play
you want to do a
Ghostwire.
Doctor Strange game, you do it like Hogwarts.
I mean, you could do. Oh, see, this man now talk about Hogwarts like you know what you're talking about. Let us keep it moving, sir. You have no right to speak on that game. You were dissing it left and right, and now all of a sudden it got its hooked to you. Yes. All right. I'm happy you say that.
We don't know yet because I'm doing my quasi melee and Forbidden West.
You and your quasi melee. I will say before we move forward, like, credit where it's deserved. That game, Chia, I think that's how you pronounce it. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly.
I think so, yeah.
I'm very happy to see it coming to the service. I was excited for that. Weird indie. Y'all know me. I like the cool indies. This thing spoke very well to me. Like, I was like, hey, it looks like a small team doing something very interesting, throwing a lot of systems at the screen, and it's part of the subscription service, so I don't have to pay for it. Just like Game Pass. That is my mecca, my utopia, right? Where a game comes out, you might not be so sure about it, and it's available to you. If you want to buy it, you can. I'm waiting for the Hi-Fi Rush physical deluxe edition. I want a statue here. When it comes, I'll be one of the ones that purchases that. And I really think Chia's good for something like that, and hopefully more people play it. So good on you, Sony, for putting those interesting things into the service as well. So let us quickly move along. I want to touch on a few things because we're going to spend the latter half of this show talking about the latest and greatest in what happened in the whole ABK thing, because I know everybody wants to hear what Everborn Conspiracy Theorist has to say about it. But real quickly, did y'all see that Mortal Kombat 12 kind of got announced? Unceremoniously.
No, it didn't kind of got announced. It got announced.
Yeah,
But not
straight up.
officially.
No. But
That
it was
it
on
is
an investor
official.
call
Yeah,
from
you
the,
can't lie
from
about
the
it. Sure.
WWE CEO.
Yeah, but I don't think
That's
that
an
was their. I don't think that was their initial intent, right? It was kind of like we'll
I'm
show it
sure
off
they're
to the gamers
scrambling
later.
to put together a show now.
Yeah.
But,
And the stuff you
it's
say to your
announced.
investors is legally binding.
It's fair game.
so-
Yes, absolutely. Now, Ed Boon was like dropping hints left and right for like months on Twitter, and now obviously he can speak more about it. But he was saying it wasn't this. So is there something else possibly coming from them? Do we know? Do we have any thoughts on that?
He did say that before the what do you call it? Because they did help with that Rumbleverse thing, whatever it was with all the DC characters,
Yeah.
or the Warner Brothers characters. So I wonder if he was talking about that when.
I hope he wasn't talking about
when
that.
he said that.
I hope he wasn't talking
Well,
about that.
the reporting from Jeff Grubb lately has been Injustice 3 would have been the next thing, but with all the uncertainties around WB and being bought, ended up being bought by Discovery, that they ended up going with Mortal Kombat, an IP they own, and just in case they weren't with the WB anymore, and ended up wasting a bunch
Hedging
of
their
time
bets.
on IP they didn't have access to anymore.
Yeah, understood. Punty.
Wait a minute.
Thank
wait
you
a
so
minute.
much.
Hold
Oh,
on.
I was just
hold
going
on
to
a minute,
answer a
hold on.
question. Go ahead.
Hold
Everborn.
on a minute.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the Starfield thing in a second. I saw a bunch of
Wednesday.
messages.
Please.
So now
Oh.
you said something interesting. You said IP they didn't own anymore. They may not own anymore. Sounds to me like you're saying that NetherRealm was separate from the Warner
Well, yeah,
Brothers entity.
if they
or
were
could
going to
be
sell the
separate.
studios off to try and recoup money, but now Hogwarts has taken off, and they'll see what they might keep them. But yeah, the potential of being spun off from Warner Brothers and just being NetherRealm and having NetherRealm's IP, because if you buy NetherRealm, you're not
get
going to buy
Mortal
it unless you
Kombat.
get Mortal Kombat. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Well, we've already known that, right? NetherRealm always the IP goes with where they go, and NetherRealm didn't own it before. Midway did, and it traverses, and it always tends to stay. So Ed is
Well,
keeping
if you
his
sell
IP to
NetherRealm, you
himself.
actually get all the Midway IP.
IPs as well.
Don't
Is
add-
that
no,
the
no,
case?
no.
it probably end up being
yeah.
part of the deal. Like it has to be part of the deal,
Actually,
like it was with IDOS and
I stand
Crystal
corrected.
Dynamics, where you got Tomb
Everborn
Raider.
Saga knows what he's talking about. I will defer to him because I know that he knows what he's talking about in that space. Absolutely.
But,
Okay.
But what Jesse said, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. So Punty in here asking a question saying, what do you guys think about Starfield date being rumored announced next week? I mean, Jesse already
It
dropped
seems
it.
like a certainty, and it would most likely be on Wednesday.
There you go. And I was never on the Marchers train. I appreciate that they had banners and flags and icons, but I'm Team
There was
June.
something in March. Yeah, there was something in March. It just wasn't the actual game. They're going to do a marketing cycle.
Yeah, I'm Team June.
yeah,
So there you go.
Yeah.
So okay,
June 6th.
End of June, most likely.
Oh, so after E3 June.
Probably.
Okay.
I'm Team early June. That's
Okay.
where my money is.
They're
So
going
let-
to do it late June to really dunk on Final Fantasy 16.
Ooh, that's a
Oh, they
sweet,
should do
sweet
it the same
saltiness. I love it. I love it. See, he's here for the slander. I'm here for that too. All right, so let's
See,
take a
no
quote.
uncontested months.
Yeah.
If you too long, Xbox customers have to watch everybody else have the fun. Show them Xbox is the place to play, and don't say, "Oh, I'm afraid of Zelda," or "I'm afraid of Final Fantasy." Say, "Hey, if Xbox is the decision you made when you went into that store,
Well, I
then
mean-
you're gonna have a game to play while everybody else has a
They
game.
should
to
be
play.
afraid of,
done
like-
and done.
If
They
you
should be
just look
afraid
at
of
what Game
Starfield,
Pass
though.
is this year, it's ridiculous. Like
Yeah, yeah.
every month has something big or multiple really good games. It's
It's going to be an interesting couple of months here. Now, let's take a quick divergence, right? Just a quick divergence.
And the only way you delay Starfield is if you close ABK and you could just claim.
you
Diablo
ain't
for
delaying
June.
Starfield. You wouldn't. So you'd put Diablo instead of Starfield? I would delay Diablo and let Starfield
I don't
ride.
think you. I think you should put some respect on Diablo's name. I
Oh,
don't
no,
really
no doubt,
understand how
no
big that
doubt.
game's gonna be.
the
No
stories
doubt.
that have come out about Diablo's development, though, it might need the delay.
Well, that's a different story.
Yeah.
So let's
but
talk.
the point is, I don't think you should drop them both in the same month. That's
Oh
all
no,
I'm
I
saying.
agree with you
Yeah,
on that.
Let them
I agree with
breathe
you on
if
that.
you own both.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a quick little on the real divergence and talk about the fact that Hogwarts Legacy TV show is being reported. Now, that to me is not as exciting as from where, because it seems that once again HBO is getting in the, all right, well, we see what Netflix is doing with these game properties. It's time for us to shoot our shot. Their first shot was absolutely amazing with The Last of Us. If you're not watching it, you should be. Amazing show. And now they're talking about Hogwarts Legacy.
Well, hold on a minute. I think we have to do some delineation.
Okay,
here.
sure.
So HBO Max and HBO proper are still kind of different.
Yeah, they're still split, aren't they? Yeah.
So Raised by Wolves, which is a decent show with Travis Fimmel.
Yeah, that was
aka
HBO Max.
Ragnar Lothbrok. That was, yes, it was HBO Max. You could tell they didn't have the same budget as the HBO proper, which is The Last of Us and the House of the Dragon kind of money.
Yeah.
So the question is,
Which side this falls on?
if HBO proper is gonna do it, and you're gonna give it to the team that they gave. I'll find the name of the show, but there's one that it was like a YA show that they did. If they're gonna do that, great. But if it's HBO Max, I reserve judgment until I see what the actual production quality
I actually
is.
think they've kind of gotten rid of that line by canceling everything that was just HBO Max. Like they got rid of almost all of it, and even like movies like The Batgirl and all these different things are just gone. Pretty much anything that was HBO Max only, it only exists if it's cheap reality TV to make now.
Like the Gotham Knights series, and that's what I'm afraid that this might be.
Yeah.
But as long as it's not, I'm good.
This IP is so goddamn big that it will be there.
Yeah. So here's my
It would be a big
question:
thing.
are they trying to capitalize on the TV shows, capitalize on the games popularity, or is this more just they were planning a TV show?
They've been trying to find a way to bring back the Wizarding World, which is what they call the Harry Potter stuff. They've been trying to find a way to bring that back.
So this is just kind of they're just kind of hooking onto the game and going, see the game you like so much, TV show. So this was probably in the works before before the game, right?
The name of this series, I just looked it up on IMDb. His Dark Materials.
It's a great show.
If you put that team behind it, like I'm in there, and I don't even like Harry Potter, I will be all over it because the production quality is there, the acting talent, everything is there, the kind of thing you expect from quality HBO stuff. That's what I want to see from this. Anything less, and I'm going to sleep, and I'm not watching.
They're going to put a lot of money behind anything tied to Harry Potter in any way.
No, I can see that. Initially I was like, oh well, maybe the game has spurred them to take another look at it. But if you think about it, that's a property that's been around for so long. They most likely were trying to get it off the ground, and the game kind of has helped them thread that needle and be able to get more folks eyeballs on the material, which, hey, depending on the team that's working on it, I think that it might potentially be pretty good. So I reserve judgment until we get there. But ladies and gentlemen, we are at the last story of the day, the big story, if you will. I see we have almost 130 people still in here. This is like a record for us. We are in new territory, ladies and gentlemen. This is the most awesome show we've had so far with so many people in here. Thanks,
by the way,
in large part to Jessie Norris. Thank you, man, for being here. This is awesome, man.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, everyone. What were we saying?
I was just gonna shout out Jericho one more time for that.
Oh yeah. It's still shining in my eyes, man. The color won't go away. Like, bro, thank you.
That stays up at the top of the chat almost the entire show when you do that much.
And I also wanna just special shout out to everybody, but specifically Pixelbit G, because Pixelbit G will keep you honest in the chat.
Oh hell yeah!
So
there's a reason he is a mod, sir. Be on your best behavior. he hasn't been empowered to cut you, and it's all good. We will sit there, look at you, and laugh once he cuts you. So it is what it is. So
I'm talking about us too. You say
everybody,
here.
everybody.
Pixel,
yes. Don't. The lore master is here for a reason, sir, and we appreciate him. But okay, let us get to our last story, and it's a combined story, if you will. Everyone in these streets knows what we're about to talk about. Microsoft and Sony squaring off in the EU, right? They put out a press conference right? If you happen to have checked out the Xbox 2 this week, shout out to Randall Thor and Jez Corden. Jez actually detailed how he was invited and all of that. I suggest you go check it out. Very interesting stuff, how he got there and all of this.
Like Hamilton, he was in the room when it happened.
He was in the room where it happened. That's right. Let's move on. So, like, again, all this stuff, all the deep details, we'll put in the show notes. You can go read it for yourself. But by and large, they were there putting on a pomp and circumstance show. They were waving contracts in the air, you know, using very skewed metrics and skewed numbers, not by them, right? Not by them, but skewed metrics nonetheless to make a point. And it either went off real well or people started, you know, it triggered a lot of journalists and others, and maybe we could talk about a little bit of that as well.
Lots of tears. That's actually the biggest angle, because I think a lot of people are up to speed, but we will get the people who are not up to speed up to
Sure.
speed.
I will let you get into the deep details. I will also just add to that one of the big takeaways from that was Activision Blizzard games are now finally coming to NVIDIA Shield, the NVIDIA GeForce Now service, which, you know, I think we have been talking about on this show. We saw it happening. I never thought, like, and this is regurgitation. We never thought that NVIDIA was, you know, had a bone to pick or anything. Like, they wanted a seat at the table, baby. They wanted to sit down. They wanted Microsoft to take their money, or whoever will take their money, so that they can have that game, whatever game you have already owned, back in the service.
You
so you
knew
can
that when we first heard that they expressed concerns, but they weren't necessarily against the deal.
Exactly.
Because do you know how much money NVIDIA makes with Microsoft?
Oh yeah.
Did you really? They are like they're not really competitors. They are partners.
Yeah.
And you have to think this is bigger than gaming or anything for them. Like their hardware is primarily used in like Windows machines.
DirectX.
Right? So many people
yes.
order like so. The idea that they would want to go in and kind of, you know, mess up one of their partners is almost laughable. But
they came hat in hand
it was.
wanting to sit at the table. We just want ours. That's it. And we're not here to take from you. We're here to give you a bunch of money.
And I suspect Microsoft saved that as an arrow in the quiver to say, because this is another thing. A lot of people saw this and they're like, oh, Microsoft's going third party. And I'm like, no, clown. They literally gave up nothing with this cloud thing while still answering the regulator's cloud concern on access, right? And the reason we say they gave up nothing, if you think that they're just giving away all their stuff, no. Guess
that means
what?
you've never used GeForce Now before.
Right. GeForce Now is not its own, it's a subscription service, but it's not really its own store. The idea is it is offering you a gaming PC in the cloud. So you still have to buy the game on the channels that you already bought them, which would be the Xbox or Windows Store or whatever. Or
now that might be
Steam.
new. That might be new though, just so you
Maybe
know.
it's new.
Like when I first signed into GeForce Now, you couldn't access the Microsoft stream. You had Steam, you had Ubisoft,
it's only going to be Steam to start. It's they're going to work on the Windows Store stuff.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, it'll be Steam.
Sure. Okay.
Right.
So that's what it is then. So they may be adding
so,
that Microsoft channel into the stream as well. Okay.
So the point is, Microsoft is actually not adding a new publishing stream with this thing.
No.
Right? Because the only way you can play a game in GeForce
if you own it already
is you have to own it, but also it has to be approved for GeForce Now. And previously, Activision as well as Xbox said, no, you can't just build a service off of our content, right? We have to approve it. So they didn't have access. So no, Microsoft says, sure, we will allow people to play Windows machines in the cloud on stores that they already bought from us, and all of their microtransactions come to us. That's totally fine.
Yep.
But you've still given the other main cloud provider, because Stadia is no longer in the business, right? This is the only one, and you've given them access to it on the terms where they would have access to it. So that in and of itself is like appeasing the regulators while literally
Giving up
almost doing
nothing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the way the GeForce Now thing was, when they originally were in beta, it was everything on Steam. The moment they started taking money for it, companies were like, "Oh, hey, our license on Steam is for people to use it on local hardware.
First
if you're
week,
making money,
That first
Then
week when GeForce first came out and all the games, it was like open season. It was Christmas, and then all of a sudden everything just got taken away. Like, oh,
yeah, the publisher's like, hey, we're not making any money off of this. You didn't come to us because you're using your hardware. It's not part of the. When you buy a game, you're buying a license to use a game in a specific way. It's the same reason you can't use Xbox games that you own on the cloud. It's a licensing nightmare they're trying to figure out, because when you do the original purchase, it's just to use with that hardware you already own. So, and also, like, this deal, even then, is not going to be active unless it passes. And there's the same thing with Nintendo. It's like, following the acquisition, that's when it goes through.
They did say the Xbox games would be active now, and that's just basically them, like, flipping a switch, saying our games.
Yeah, for GeForce Now, everything is literally, it's already there. It's just loading Steam on those cloud PCs, so.
Yeah.
Now, so then the other deal that they came out and signed, which is weird because I thought they did this before, but I guess they just agreed to it. Nintendo didn't actually sign it before. And someone
they hadn't gone for a deal because like it hadn't gotten to that point with the regulators giving pushback and trying to say, well, Sony's really crying that they need COD, and so Xbox is like, hey, we'll make an agreement. We'll do it with. They didn't do it with Valve because Gabe Newell was like, no, it'll be fine. We'll keep it there. We believe you. But they did it with Nintendo because it's not actually on there yet. So this is like hey, regulators, look, we've got this deal. It'll be on Nintendo. Same rolling type of deal, but longer, because they do a rolling deal for Minecraft. Every few years they go in, say, yep, we'll keep Minecraft on all these other platforms. And they're like, we'll do it even longer on this one to assuage your concerns.
Right, but didn't they announce that they had a 10-year deal with Nintendo back in December?
They announced that they had come to like an agreement,
but they hadn't signed it.
Not written, yes.
But remember, Everborn, now when they said it, they specifically called out legally binding documents, so meaning they've signed it. Before it was like, we're going to do this, right? Now it's like, hey, it's signed, it's an ink, we're done now, right? So
So now, if we look at the regulators' two main concerns, and if it's only 2 paragraphs, so if you guys will allow me,
please, yes, that's what we're here for. Go ahead, read it.
Only 2 concerns that they need answered in order to get this deal to go through. Right. So this is the first concern. In relation to gaming consoles, we provisionally found that Xbox and PlayStation compete closely with each other, and that Activision Call of Duty COD is important to the competitive offering of each. The evidence suggests that after the merger, Microsoft would find it commercially beneficial to make COD exclusive to Xbox or available on Xbox on materially better terms than on PlayStation. We provisionally found that this would substantially reduce competition in gaming consoles to the detriment of gamers, Xbox and PlayStation gamers alike, which could result in higher prices, reduced range, lower quality, worse service, and or reduced innovation. So that's the first concern that they need answered, and that is theoretically answered with this access agreement. We can talk about the CMA says that there's potential where an access agreement would work, but that was their concern. So now that they've signed this deal with Nintendo, you can no longer say that PlayStation is the only one that counts here, right? Because they're the only ones who can play it. So they should be included, and they will be included. And if you're looking at
they're only exercise machine system, right? They're only there for exercise machines and hentai.
But now they're an exercise and a COD machine.
And hentai, don't forget the hentai.
Right? So that's the thing. So now, and it was very important what they talked about. Now they will be offering it to 150 million, which is 125 on Nintendo and 25 on GeForce Now on NVIDIA. And so what that says is that 150 number is very close to the monthly active users of PlayStation. So what you have to ask yourself now is,
Do they
sure,
need
it'll be on
PlayStation?
Xbox. You don't believe me that it'll be on PlayStation, but I'm saying here are 150 million other customers. And PlayStation can also sign the same thing because we've already obligated ourselves to it.
Well, here's my
So
question
there's
to
nothing
you.
stopping you.
Do we know the breakdown?
That was the first one.
Do we know the breakdown of how many of those customers are European, are the EU located? Because that seems to be really what animates them. And at least in the EU anyway, Sony seems to rule the roost. So a lot of their customers are Sony customers. You know what I'm saying? Do we know that
Right.
breakdown? Have they spoken about that yet?
Well, we know that according to the numbers from the regulators, right? If you exclude Nintendo,
Yeah.
it's 80-20 in Europe.
But that's
right?
for PlayStation.
80% PlayStation, 20% Xbox.
I would love to know the numbers of Nintendo and GeForce, because that would also speak to, hey, these are your customer base that we're now sharing this game with versus what they couldn't play before. Specifically, Nintendo and GeForce customers in the EU. I would love to know that.
Now, let me read the second. This is the only other one for the CMA. And remember, it's important to clarify. This presentation was for the EU regulators and not for the CMA.
Sure.
But they are trying to get similar packages. Right? So, here we go. This is for cloud. In relation to cloud gaming services, we provisionally found that Activision's titles, including COD and certain PC titles such as World of Warcraft, will be important to the competitive offering of cloud gaming services as the market continues to grow and develop. We provisionally found that after the merger, Microsoft would find it commercially beneficial to make Activision titles exclusive to its own cloud gaming platform, cloud gaming service, or available there on materially better terms than on rival gaming services. Given we have provisionally found Microsoft already has a strong position in this market, it's through its ownership of Xbox, a global cloud computing service, and the leading PC operating system OS. We are concerned that even a moderate increment to its strength may be expected to substantially reduce competition in this developing market to the detriment of current and future cloud gaming users. Now, first of all, we'll just ignore the fact that it's a nascent market and they have no idea how it's going to play out, and everyone who has invested in it has basically bowed out. And if you say that you can't invest this kind of money, then no one will make money into it, hence no one will invest in it, hence the market will go nowhere. But let's just ignore that fact. Right?
That big elephant in the room, but sure, continue.
Right? We'll ignore all of that. But if your concern is access to COD in cloud competitors, and again, Stadia no longer exists, right? There's still Luna.
They've
but
been
who knows what's going in
quiet. Maybe the bag, maybe that deal is another bullet in the quiver they're waiting for. Who knows?
But basically, the only other cloud provider, and by the way, the only cloud providers that the CMA considers are Xbox, PlayStation, NVIDIA's GeForce Now, and Stadia. And Stadia no longer exists.
Yeah.
So there are only 3 players. And we know PlayStation doesn't care about their cloud platform, right? So really, the harm here is NVIDIA, and NVIDIA got exactly what they
Just
want.
got what they want. Yep.
And people say, oh, it's crass, and I really want to talk about these two-faced journalists, but
And we have 10 more minutes, so chop.
yes.
Let's go.
So we can say it's crass that he held up a contract, but he held up a contract because we're all under this. We're all only here because they believe that Microsoft will not put the game on PlayStation when they've been saying the whole time
From day one that they will. Yeah.
we will give it to you, right? However you want it. Pause. We'll give it to
Big
you.
pause, sir.
And here's the contract right here. So let's not play stupid here, because we're all ignoring the elephant in the room that we don't want to take it away from PlayStation, and we're willing to sign whatever you want that says we're not gonna take it away from PlayStation, and yet your concerns are around whether we will take it from PlayStation.
Real
Right?
quick here.
So-
real quick here. and shout out to him. Eternal should die in the chat. You guys should check out the Good Morning Xbox podcast on Noof Newcomb's channel. He's a panel member there. He says, after leaving a $10 super chat, thank you so much. He says, good afternoon, Kay Asante and panel. My question is this. Do you think the MS is trying to save PlayStation from extinction? According to Pactor, Sony will not exist in 10 years. The link is in the chat. Do we think that this is kind of
save them from themselves,
helping them? Because as Jez also wrote an expert article, which if you guys haven't checked out, you should. You know, he keeps trying to advocate to keep your eye on the ball because the eye of Sauron is not Sony. It's actually the combined eyes of Google and Apple, and they're an outsized influence in this gaming market. Although they don't necessarily like the gaming market, they're still dictating terms based on some of the policies that they're putting in place. So maybe Eternal should die has a point here. Like, what do you think about that there, Everborn? Like, they're trying to save them from themselves. Look, you understand that you have more money. We're just trying to keep you guys level, keep you guys with us. What do you think?
Well, so there's two things there. In a literal sense, no, I don't believe that. But also in a theoretical sense, because I don't believe Microsoft owning Activision is going to push Sony out of the market.
No, I don't think that's.
I don't believe
that's
that. I believe they'll be able to compete. I believe the console market is not really growing, but it is established and it is strong. At least while us 30 and 40-year-olds are around, because our kids are all going to be playing in mobile in the cloud.
Not if I can help it.
But right now, I think that they are fine because content is king, and they have content in spades. So I'm not really worried about Sony. That being said, Microsoft would not let them fail if it did come to that, which I don't think it will come to. In the same way, they wouldn't let Apple fail because then all the eyes go on them, and then they begin to look like the monopoly, and we don't want that, and neither do they, because then that's a lot of pressure and responsibility. So I think even if they did come into trouble, Microsoft would be beneficial to Microsoft to keep them afloat, if only to keep regulators away.
So before we go, I have one piece that's related to this that I want, and I'm going to get your take on it first, Jesse. All this back and forth, grandstanding, we've seen it. They're throwing very vocal, not backroom deals like you expect, right? This has seemingly animated a lot of journalists in the gaming space. A lot of journalists are up in arms on one side or another, right? We won't even bring the Lulu Chang of it all into the mix because she's out there dropping bodies left and right, and I'm there for it. Salute to you, good lady, right? What are your thoughts here? Because I know you're an Xbox-focused channel. You guys saw the market wasn't working the way for them, and you decided to go on your own. And by and large, you're being very successful at it. Do you think I call this episode the seismic shift? Because I feel like a lot of these journalists are seeing the changing of the guard, and they don't like it, and because of that, they have to do whatever they can to kind of gum up the works. Am I wrong in my assertion, sir?
No, it's just more you know what you know, and you grew up on PS1 being huge, PS2 being a behemoth, PlayStation 3 slipping back, but then PS4 being as big as ever. It's the platform that they understand and they know and they're used to, and they review things on, and having to learn what the Xbox platform is, what it's going for. So many people are just used to the way Sony does business, and so they see Xbox and they think, well, Sony always tries to go for the throat and just crush their competition. So I don't believe Phil when he says we don't want to crush any competition. We want everyone can keep a similar share of the pie. We just want to make the actual pie way bigger. Yeah. Because console gaming pretty much plateaued. You don't get more. Even like the biggest systems, they hit a certain point, and that's about all you can get before you need new hardware, and it all starts over again. The biggest thing for Xbox is just taking the actual platform, making it way bigger, going tons of different, just giving you options, and keeping up with that is hard. It's a lot of work if you've ignored the platform for your entire adult life, and as a kid you were used to playing PlayStation, playing a Nintendo. That's what you know. And we exist because there was such a dearth of proper Xbox coverage. People that are associated with the Xbox brand but don't really keep up to date with it, and kind of seem surprised when things happen. And so yeah, so you see a lot, and I don't think it's like a conscious bias for most. I think it's just, what do they know, what are they used to, and do they want to have to learn something new? And I just think most of the time people they like comfort and familiarity, and they don't want to have to go and learn this whole new platform that they haven't been keeping up with. And it comes out very clearly in the people that are, and it's the majority. I don't think there's really many pro. I think there's a lot of people looking for reasons to be against it, simply because they just want to be able to ignore Xbox. It's what they're used to doing.
That is a good take. You're being magnanimous in your critique of the games media, and I appreciate
I'm calling people lazy. It's not really that nice of a thing.
Yeah, it's better than what some people go. Some people are going straight malicious, but
There are
real
some
quick,
who I think are very clear in their biases. There's always bad actors and everything, but I think the majority, it's just more
it's what they
ignorance,
know.
not malice.
Ignorance is bliss. Understood. Okay. EverbornSaga.
It's also no excuse of the law.
EverbornSaga, I will let you have the last word, but before I do, I will catch up on this last super chat here from Dave Ramos, great member of our community. We appreciate you for being here, sir, with a $5 super chat saying, if 70-30 of the market exists in console gaming, seems fair to infer that split probably exists in journalism as well. That's a thought.
So
Might be onto something, sir. EverbornSaga, yes. Take us out. What do you think? Like, what do you think of this, the seismic shift that's seemingly happening beneath our feet? We're seeing, the hands are changing. People are looking out, and potentially in the next generation, the players, the deck chairs, the leaders may not be the same, right? And it seems like some game journalists are really taking it badly and taking it to the Twitter streets to vent their frustrations or peddle their ridiculous clickbait headlines. What are your thoughts, good sir?
Well, I mean, they call them clickbait headlines for a reason, because they work. So I wouldn't really get. And a lot of the times, the people writing the headlines aren't
the ones who write the article. Yes, the articles tend to be more.
I don't really
more
get
level-headed.
too caught up on headlines, and if I see a blatantly ridiculous headline, I just don't give the journalism organization the click. But here's the thing: when the grass is cut, the snakes will show.
The snakes will show.
Right. So what we saw yesterday, to me, was or the day before. This has been going on since that thing. Yeah. And what you see in the reactions to Lulu Chen is glorious to me, right? Because there's nothing like a person pretending to be above board expose their true selves. So when I read these articles that are literally comparing the Xbox fan base to insurrectionists from January 6th.
Oh, bro.
And comparing Microsoft
Don't get me started, sir.
highlighting facts to being Trumpian, because it's totally everybody. It was all just a week ago. It was only business when Sony was being purposefully obtuse, pretending they couldn't survive without COD, and every one of these journalists knows Sony would be fine with or without COD, even though they're not losing COD. And you know what they said? Why shouldn't Sony do what they need to do for their business? God forbid Microsoft does what they need to do for their business. That's when the gnashing of the teeth and the pulling out of the hair and the clutching of the pearls and the crossing the street and holding on to the purse.
And
that's
the calling,
when all that happens.
And the calling out of one person who's just out here just being magnanimous and being as positive as possible, as being part of the Trumpian insurrection. That's what happens.
Right? So again, what we are seeing is something I have noticed for a very long time, and I'm not even saying this to be like a conspiracy, whatever, right? Because we had actual people. We had actual people over this whole thing just because Microsoft pointed out numbers that the regulators gave them and had a contract that they actually are trying to get Sony to sign, but they won't return their calls for whatever reason, and it's just business. I agree.
Yeah.
But what I say is if it was just business then, it's also just business now. So we were told that the Xbox fan base was the worst fan base in all of gaming. These are journalists saying this, right? So we were compared to these political pariahs. We were called the worst fan base in all of gaming, right? And we were told that people were being childish for, like, lawyers are childish for trying to
insist on clarity and accuracy.
Right? How dare they? So all the think piece articles in the world, and by the way, I said this, if you think that this is bad now, wait till the deal closes.
Oh yeah.
So you don't go into games journalism unless you're a gamer and you love it. I mean, for the most part, right? But you don't do that. So if you're a gamer and you love gaming, a lot of people go into that thing and they have their preferences. And so when you see these multi-plat game reviews, like, go right now, I'm not making this up, go look at the review for Sonic, right?
Yeah.
Nintendo is probably clearly the most people that were going to buy that game because of that target audience. Because remember, they just do exercising kids. That's what
and hentai.
That's what we said, right?
And hentai.
So
I will not let that die.
Why were literally 90% of the reviews on the PlayStation 5?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Right? Because these gaming journalists, that's their preferred platform. Look at any multi-platform game. It is reviewed more on the PlayStation than it is on the Xbox. That alone tells you what the preferred platform of a lot of these outlets are. Yeah. Right? So you have that, and now you have this gut reaction, right? You have this gut reaction because this doesn't feel right. And what you saw over this week was people who actually, for the first time in their mind, thought, "Oh snap,
it might actually go the other way.
Actually go through." Mm-hmm. Right? See, it was all good when they thought Sony had them on the ropes, and the regulators was just not going to let it slide. And then you see a compelling argument, and then you say, "Oh, whoa, hold on, I don't like that. How dare you post a meme? Think of the children."
Oh God, stop it.
Right? Like they're literally doing hit pieces because absurdity is pointed out.
Yeah.
Right? So this is the thing. So they can say whatever they want, and maybe I'm just making this all up, except for when they got called out, all of them either had to retract their articles or issue apologies. So is it me? Is it the reviews? Is it these random articles that are just saying Sony is just protecting their own business, but Microsoft does it, and now it's a problem? Like, it's right there, and you see it. So people can pretend that they are above all of this, but you can see by the emotional reaction to this thing that they're not. And listen, that's fine. You don't have to be for the deal, right? I just did a whole piece last week why there's reasons for the deal not to go through. But don't put your emotional stuff out on Front Street in an article like that and then accuse everyone else as being fanboys. And that's my issue with it.
Well, there's always this take that, well, it would be really bad if Xbox became market leader. And I'm like, well, it's not like Sony's a good one. They're not trying to build the market and make the market better. They're trying to just snuff everyone beneath them. So,
but Jesse, see, here's the thing. I would respect if someone calling themselves a journalist just came out and said that. But they know they can't because it would expose whatever bias they have, right? And what you're talking about is exactly what they feel, right? they don't think Microsoft, for whatever reason, would be a good steward of the market. But they can't come out and say that, so they have to try to find these quasi-moral justifications.
What if they increase the prices and they do all these things? And then you realize, well, they're just saying, what if they do everything that Sony's already does?
doing? Yes,
and it's like, well, yeah, I mean, then I rail at them the same way I do at the shitty business practices of Sony. It's not that hard.
Right, and this is my thing. It's either all just business, or it's not,
or it's personal until it's
right?
Absolutely.
So for me, the way I look at all of this, they're just chess pieces, and Sony's doing what they got to do and say, and Microsoft is doing what they got to do and say to achieve their corporate ends and means and goals and all that, and it's gonna play out the way it play out. But what you're not gonna catch me doing is trying to put trying to project my preference for Xbox onto Sony or whatever. Sony should do whatever they can. Good luck. Right? But let's not pretend that we're all neutral in just the facts when as soon as something doesn't go your way, we see all of these opinion pieces,
the pitchforks,
and not even labeled as opinion pieces.
Yep.
These just emotions are just flying all over the place. So we see you, is what I say. we see all of you, and it's great that some of you apologize, but now we know what's what, and don't call us crazy.
And ladies and gentlemen,
that's it. I'm done.
That is the tirade that you came here to listen to, I'm sure. And we appreciate Mr. EverbornSaga for being here and for being on point as usual. I see a bunch of folks in the chat agreeing with you. Yes, you have it in the bag. You're preaching to the choir here, I suspect, in our audience. But it's by and large just logics and facts, right? Like we have been here railing on them when they needed to be railed upon, and I don't think that will change tomorrow. You know, if and when the deal closes, and I'm on the side that it still will.
No, it's going to be worse. I'm telling you, it is going to be 2013 Xbox One era coordinated
levels of salt
media. Just be ready for it.
Yeah,
I'm telling you now.
This is gonna be great content for us. We're gonna enjoy dissecting it apart. It's gonna be fantastic, and hopefully, when that happens, we will once again call on Mr. Jessie Norris to join us. Thank you so much for being here, Jessie. You have presided over one of our most successful shows with over 100 people still collectively sitting in here chatting and enjoying themselves with us. So thank you so much. Tell the fine people where they can catch all the stuff you'll be doing this weekend and who else you will be having on your show this evening.
Yeah, in about 5 hours' time, some guy named Kay Asante will be joining myself and Nick on the Xbox Era podcast. It's over youtube.com/Xbox Era. And for all our links, you just go to xboxera.com. It's all right there in the top. We got forums, we've got Twitter. I stream a ton on Twitch. There's Wolong coming next week for a review, along with many other things. It's going to be a real busy year that I have no idea how we're going to keep up with.
You're going to have to split yourself in two, sir, because I don't think even you can keep up with all the stuff coming at you. But no, thank you guys for the invite. I'm excited to be there today. Myself and special Nick, we're going to chop it up and see what interesting conversations that we get into.
I need some Sega acquisition talk.
Oh, well, you know. I'm waiting for a rumor mill. That always gets me excited. I hope we have one of those. We'll see how we get there. But yes, thank you guys so much for checking us out. Please, all of his show, the information for Jessie and Xbox Era will be in the show notes, of course. So check them out. Make sure you're watching. Make sure you're subscribed to their stuff. Always great information they provide. I love your reviews. Yours are one of the first I ever check out because it's always so well thought out and well managed. And even if you have critique, you have good thoughts on behind it and all that. So I always make sure that I check out your stuff as well. So thank you so much once again for being here. Mr. EverbornSaga, I know you're out there Lulu Changing people left and right on Twitter. What else are you doing this weekend, sir?
I like that that's a verb now.
It is a verb. We're making it a verb, damn it. That's what we're doing. What you doing this weekend, man? What you up to?
I am gonna have some more tea because I feel like that rant is bringing back the itchiness in my throat, and I meant
chamomile tea, baby.
So I don't want to lose it. Yes,
get it done. Let's go.
And it's 21 degrees in New York right now, so I don't think I'm going anywhere.
Oh well, I don't feel sorry for you, sir. You chose to live in the cold post. Myself and
I'm
Mr.
working
Jessie
on it.
Norris. I
I'm
think
working
what is it? What 83 today? Oh, we good. We fine.
Yeah.
We're all right.
I hate you guys.
But all right, so you can catch Everborn Saga, of course, the Everborn Saga website, which is also in our show notes. Any new information coming to the people anytime soon, or are we working on something we want to let them know?
We're always working on things. The next book we're gonna drop is Ariel's Adventure Chapter 2, followed by a new series, followed by the Redlands Chapter 2. But we still have that sale going on where you can get every book we have ever released. This is over 300 pages of full color content, and everything comes signed right now on sale for $50. So just go there, click on any one of the books, and scroll down, and you'll see the package putting them all together at EverbornSaga.com. So you can see that level of. Show them some pages. Just
Show some pages,
scroll down a little bit. Scroll. Yeah, look at this. Look at
the
it.
pages.
Look at these pages.
Look at the art, and of course, then
God damn.
the great writing, which Mr. Everborn Saga provides. It's a great book. I actually end up reading a lot more because the kiddos love this book, so I end up like reading Arrow's Adventure a lot with them. So there you go. So check it out. It's good stuff, and you're helping the man, achieve the dream, as it were. Maybe one day you'll see the Netflix special. Who knows? It'll be interesting times, sir. But yes, thank you guys so much for being here, or the games, which are still being worked on. So I expect to see some new. I expect to see some new builds soon, sir. I've been waiting to see what's up
They're
up
coming,
to date.
man. We're just waiting on animation, but
Okay,
these things take time,
understood.
I'm told.
Understood.
This is why I don't give Xbox any smoke right now. I got delays in my own.
Because you got delays on your own. That's what happens. Yes, sir. And we have still 110 folks in here. Thank you guys so much for being here and your continued
How many likes
support.
do we have before we go?
We have 108 likes, bro. We are up there.
That's
these
what
people,
I'm talking about.
These people
I don't know
are
who those two
representing.
people are, but that's what I'm talking about.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank
This
you
is
so much.
amazing.
Thank you,
This is so great. We are humbled by your support, and it's absolutely awesome. We really appreciate it. Now, we try to keep this show, brisk, but sometimes the conversation gets away from us, and we're just going crazy.
There's
But
a lot this week.
it is a lot, yeah. And I cut a bunch of it out, but there's still
We've
still
gone
some great
far longer with far less.
with far less. True, absolutely. But there are still great shows to be watched. I see Living Split Screen is still going live. They got 50 people in there. Go give them a visit. Go subscribe to their stuff. Go hit like on their channel and let them know that the folks from GCP sent you. Because we're all community here. We want to see everybody rise. So go to Living Split Screen right now. I'm actually going to finish up my show and go check out the rest of their show as well. But of course, you can catch myself and Jessie Norris and Special Nick on the Xbox Era podcast tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. More fun will be had there. It'll be a great time. I appreciate all y'all for being here. For myself, for Mr. Everborn Saga, and Jessie Norris, I would say thank you, keep it gaming, and have a great weekend.